Hey, what's up, babies? I'm Fireboy. This is my channel. And it's writing day. So what does that mean we're going to do? It means we're going to do some writing. You know that's what it means. It's what it always means. I'm in a good mood today. It has been so warm and beautifully sunny and awesome around here. I can't be bummed about it. You know, I can't be bummed about anything. Like, I'm chill and enjoying this little sneak preview of what summer has to hold around here. It's yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet. Like, I'm again, t-shirt, no sweater. I'm even in shorts right now and I'm comfortable. I had to crank up the AC the other day. And it's still up there. It's still up there. Like, that's how warm and awesome it's been. And it's just sunny and gorgeous outside. Ugh, it's beautiful. Like, all the trees right outside my window, like, have all of those fresh new leaves budding and blooming. It's awesome. And I'm so happy about it. And it just puts me in such a good, content, chill, comfortable mood. Makes me a happy boy. Makes me a real happy boy. I'll tell you what. I can only hope that everyone else's weather is even half as nice as what we're getting today. Oh man, I hope that's true, because everyone deserves to be this, like, chill and content and warm and sunny and happy as I am right now. Everyone deserves it. Everyone in the world. End statement. Full stop. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, no, it's good. What a good world. What a good life. Hell yeah. Let's do some writing. That's what today's job is, after all. Let's get us switched over. Aww. There we go. All right, so I have pulled up. I don't see any reason to change up a winning formula. So I'm just gonna go ahead and have us do some warm up with some of our rune project there. Edwin, how's it going? Not too hot to work. That's, like, perfect right there. You know, like, there's, like, that's a very good point. There's, like, a fine line between warm and too warm, and once you start passing it, things go from, like, comfortable and happy to just, like, stinky and tiring. There's a fine line, and the weather needs to be, especially in the middle of summer, like right in the middle of August, the weather needs to be better about understanding that. It never figures it out, but it's a good point. But yeah, no, I'm glad weather is good for you as well. Hell yeah. I'm gonna say everyone deserves good, awesome weather. Oh boy. So yeah, let's get the creative juices flowing here. Right? We've got this goofy homebrew rune system that I insist upon working on, no matter how long it takes me and no matter how much extra work it is. I love working on it. It's so fun to just kind of try and creatively work on this stuff, and it really has been such an awesome, like, warm up for my brain. It just gets me thinking in terms of D&D mechanics, in terms of fantasy world stuff. I like it. I like doing it. Plus, it's fun. It's fun creatively coming up with potential magical imbibements and everything for my players to work with. My players have been really getting into it lately. They kind of took inventory of some of the runes they've found in their adventures so far, and they realized they've got some really cool stuff that they want to start putting in their weapons. So they've started going through the process of, like, crafting all of their stuff, and it's been really fun watching them get into it and get excited about their eventual magical items that they're working on creating. And it's really cool. It's really cool, and it makes it as a DM, it makes my heart go aflutter when I see my players enjoying things that I've created. Makes me feel good, makes them feel good. It's just a lot of good involved in that. So let's go ahead and keep working on it, because it makes me feel good, and I want to, and it's my stream, and I get to do what I want. Sorry, I got a little adversarial there. I just love it. Okay. We've been working on our abjuration spells here, turning these into imbibements, and we're on level 3. So let's go ahead and filter that stuff and get ourselves going with it. There we go. I think last time we left off with Magic Circle, which was kind of funny, because it's almost just an imbibement in and of itself, right? Like, you just kind of Like you're placing magic in a location, which is kind of exactly what an imbibement is. You place magic in an item, so that way you can use the item rather than using a spell slot. You know, it's convenient for magicians, you know, and it also makes it possible for non-magic folk to kind of have a taste of the cool and the ethereal. So I just feel kind of bad that it's like, you know, a wizard can pick up a sword and slash with it, even if they're not good with it. They can pick up a sword and do that, but there's rarely a mechanic for a like fighter to just go ahead and throw fireballs at people. So I love that. I think that's kind of one of the biggest reasons I love doing this, is because it just opens up that, it just offers up a little bit of that window of opportunity, just a little bit of it for players to be able to get in and have some fun with more magical stuff. And again, like I always say with my, like the one of the things that this project does and offering runes and more magical stuff for players is it really ups that chaos factor in your games, just insane amounts. And me personally, as a DM, that's like my favorite thing in the world. I love when everything is pure chaos and no one understands what the hell is going on around them. That to me is just the quintessential perfect combat. When there's like 7 area effects going on, people are possessed and confused and asleep and unconscious, and it just, oh man, I love that. I love the insanity. It makes it so much fun. So anything to sow more insanity in my games is naturally going to be a big ol' plus in my book. So we're working on turning each of these spells into runes that can be added to items if players so choose. And the next one on the list is non-detection here. So let's go ahead and just dive into it. This one should be a pretty simple one to sort of create our conversion for. So we've got non-detection. Did I spell it wrong, or is it because it's not actually a word? I'm not an Englisher by trade, so I'm not good at that stuff. Non-detection. Yeah, I spelled it right. It's just a made-up word, which is dumb for Microsoft Office to judge me for that, because all words are made up at some point in time. Right? Like, all words are made up. It's just us making up mouth sounds to mean things. Everything's made up. Nothing is real. Nihilism reigns supreme. Anyway, sorry, that took a different turn. This isn't psychology hour. Anyway, whatever. Copy. We're gonna copy our spell vernacular as it is. It's one paragraph. It should be pretty easy to convert. So we just paste it there. A few formatting things. Put our bullet there. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at what it is, and we can kind of massage our language a little bit here as needed to turn it into an enchantment or an imbibement as we so choose, and then we can kind of build from there. So as written, for the duration, you hide a target that you touch from divination magic. The target can be a willing creature or a place or an object no larger than 10 feet in any dimension. The target can't be targeted by any divination magic or perceived through magical scrying sensors. Okay, so immediately my thought is on this one in terms of like the type of item it can enchant. This has to be clothing, right? So like you're basically we're gonna make like an invisibility cloak, you know, or if someone wants to get a little bit creative, they can do like an invisibility blanket or something. But that's immediately what it's gonna be. But I think what's gonna make this one really fun is if we insist upon not like, oh, I have a glove of invisibility. I put on the glove and activate it and it turns me invisible. No. It just makes that glove invisible. So if you put it on a glove, you can make your hand invisible. So you can like, you know, pretend like you don't have a hand and try to like quickly swipe something. Like you could be a pickpocket that way. So that way if someone like detects you, can be like, well, it wasn't me. I'm missing my hand. I couldn't have done it. Right? And that's like the best you could achieve with it. Oh boy. So when teachers tell you to explain something in your own words, it's the same words everybody else does. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these things kind of have existing items. I just do it for the sake of completeness and because it's fun. Hey, Gabby, how's it going? I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, a lot of them kind of like duplicate, especially when you have items that like, especially when you have enchantments that do various different types of like fire damage or whatever, and you're just adding it to a sword so that the sword can do some fire damage. A lot of it can kind of it all kind of interplays. But I mean, the same could be said about a lot of spells in general, you know what I mean? So, and also I'm obsessive, and I can't stand to start a project and see that one and say like, oh, this already exists. I'm not going to do it, and just have the gap in the thing that I'm doing, because I have mental problems, and we just accept them sometimes rather than trying to fight them. Oh boy. Oh, I'm sorry about your rose. Hey, you know what? If it's important to you, your emotions are valid. So I'm sorry about your rose. That's a bummer. That's a real bummer. You don't need to feel dumb about being sad about that. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, accidents happen. Accidents happen, that's for sure. I mean, it's good of you to understand that. Good of you to be understanding of that. All right, let's hear. So the way it's written here, for the duration, you hide a target that you touch from divination magic. So I'm going to change this to, for the duration, the item is hidden from divination magic. We're just going to say it that way. Item is hidden from divination magic. Target can be here. We're just going to say the item. Yeah, the item can be a willing blah 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 blah. Sorry, one second. Multitasking is difficult, and I shouldn't do it, but I still do it anyway because I don't learn. Target can be okay, so the item can be an object no longer than 10 feet in any dimension is what I think we do. The item can be an object. Target can't be targeted by any divination magic or perceived through magical scrying sensors. Yeah, okay, so basically hides it from magic. All right, that makes it even better, actually. Like, that makes it kind of a funny concept, that it's like you cover it up with a blanket, and that doesn't mean that the item can't be seen. It just can't be detected. But actually, you know, that's kind of an interesting thing, because then you can, like, basically create, like, a magical, like, a bag of magical protection, right? So it's like if you want to carry, like, an item without it being detectable, you can, like, shove it in like a little gunny sack or something if you want to. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's some interesting things here. I like this idea. I like the way that this can kind of actually sort of be used creatively. So yeah, I'm gonna actually do that as our example item. We're gonna do we're gonna call it the sack of non-detection, which is kind of an innuendo in and of itself. But hey, you know, sometimes things get goofy. The sack of non-detection. So these things are going to be kind of rare, because this is a level 3 spell, and it's like as the spells get bigger, the more rare they become as an imbued thing, or at least that's how I like to structure it myself. Let's see here. A small satchel. That's kind of a synonymous word, right? A small satchel that can protect any item held within from magical detection. We'll say roughly 1 gallon. Gallon? Wow, that wasn't even close. 1 gallon capacity. Popular item among, man. This is gonna be a day. I can already tell my hands are not doing the typing very well today. This is gonna be a day of many red grasses under my words. What I always think of the red spelling error thing. It just looks like little red grass that grows. Because I always think that the grammar stuff where it's the green line just looks like grass, right? It's just like a little grass going under your words. Roughly 1 gallon capacity. Popular item um, among those, we'll just say, who transport valuable goods, right? So it's just like, like a delivery person who works in like, important items. So it's like someone, like you might have it like, it might be a courier that caters to like the wealthy or the powerful who have secret things that they want to sort of be able to travel between locations and stuff with. Is sort of the idea behind it. But I think that works great. So now for this one, how it's cast, I think what we'll just say for this one is item here's what I want to do for it. Here's what I'm going to do for it. Evelier, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Glad you're having a good time here. Just want to say this, the item, I'm going to change this up a little bit. The item and anything within it is hidden from magic, and we're going to say type of item it can be, that can be, well, blah, 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 whatever. I want to just say anything, really anything can be, anything really, but best used on things that can contain other things, like a satchel or a chest, right? Like a chest of magical hidden stuff. Yeah, good place to hide stolen goods. Exactly. Yeah, a thief would love to have something like this. A thief would absolutely love that. They can just like shove stuff in it, right? I also like the idea, now that I've kind of put it there, I like the idea of having a chest that like you can put like your valuables in. It's almost like a medieval version of a lockbox, right? That you can just like put all your really valuable stuff in so people don't know like what's in there. They can't figure out what's in there or something like that. Oh, I actually really like this item. This is one of those like subtly powerful items, right? Where it's like on the surface you think like, it's, it's not very exciting because it's not something that you can use in battle. But like when you think about it, this is a really cool concept. Being able to just have something that like contains items that you don't want found. I don't know. I think this is really cool. I really like this item already. Let's see here. So mechanics. I don't know that we need to worry about too much of it here. This is supposed to be like how it's cast. Oh, that's right, because I started writing it and then I got distracted, which is just so painfully normal for me. It's like, oh, I should start writing this, but wait, there's this other idea. Distracted as we veer away from the initial topic at hand. Oh boy. Old school adventure. Ooh, I like that. I like that idea. It's like you're talking in the same vein as, like, they've actually been doing that, where they've been taking a lot of the advanced D&D modules and stuff and like making them converted for 5e. It's like, it's such a cool idea. I love doing that. I've got a bunch of the like original advanced D&D notebooks and stuff like that and modules on my shelf, and it's like, the concept of using those in modern day games is so cool to me, just because like the style of creating an adventure, not even in terms of like mechanically, just in terms of aesthetics, right? In terms of the types of monsters and the type of setting and the way things were kind of built, like back in the 70s and 80s, is so different than we do nowadays, right? Fantasy back in the 70s had a very, very different feel than it does nowadays. Which is, and it's really fun to kind of see the difference, like see the differences there. And I think it's so cool. Yeah, they've made conversion guides and stuff so you can kind of do it yourself. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and it's really fun. And one of these days I really want to do it. Although part of me kind of wants to get my group to be willing to learn how to play like the old school way, advanced D&D, just so we can see how it all used to be. Because that's like, I didn't grow up with that. That was way before my time. So I would love to be able to sort of just experience like the way we were back in the day, right? And then like go through it and then be like, oh yeah, this isn't that great. I'm glad we've updated the rules. And, you know, as happens with most things, like you get this starry-eyed nostalgia that's like, oh, I wish things were like it was in the old days. And then you like play an old video game and you're like, oh, this looks like garbage. Things are way better nowadays. So I've better left in the positive memories and just leave it there. All right. Anyway, item is consistently item is consistently exhibiting the power. There we go. Boom. Range. Only the item itself. We'll say in parentheses, and anything contained in it. Boom. There we go. Duration is just sort of like an NA thing. We're just gonna get rid of that. Item is only the item itself contained in it has the power. It has the power. And there's nothing for this. It's not an attack spell, so we can just do that. That's all we really need for the mechanics. And I don't think there's any additional notes that we need for it. I think that's beautiful as it is. Competitive adventures ran early conventions or points depending on how much. Yeah. That would be fun too. That'd be fun too, like to try and turn just like a big dungeon crawl into competitive stuff. The hard part about that would be trying to figure out, like, I feel like the tricky part, like you'd have to do like groups against each other. It would be kind of fun to do a competitive where it's like you get points based on having the killing blow and see how different players like within the same party would compete with each other too. But just the concept of competitive D&D is interesting to me. And I feel like there's some people that like you end up playing with that are just like really bad at the cooperative stuff that you're like, you need a competitive D&D game. And it'd be kind of a fun way to, like, if we could establish a more consistent community, I feel like it'd almost be a good way to make more people happy, because then all the people who are antagonistic about D&D could then go play those games and they can have fun, you know, turning D&D into Call of Duty, while the rest of us are like, we're going to use teamwork and we're just going to have fun with our friends. I wonder if that would help, like, help kind of clean out some of the more troublesome games that people find themselves in sometimes. I mean, I don't know that I would ever run a game like that, because that's just not my style, but the concept of it is intriguing for sure. Okay, so we got our basic stuff there for this one. Now we get to do the fun part, which is try and figure out exactly what would happen if the item were to become sentient or to be cursed, right? Because like the whole point of this is that it's a crafting type of system that players can create their own stuff. Like it's pretty similar to the rune system you find in Pathfinder, but I like to add sort of like crafting to it, so it's not just like, oh yeah, have rune on item now. Great. Like, I like to have it be a more time-consuming thing that players work on and sort of get their way to eventually have the imbued item over the course of like spending time in their downtime working on it. And that's just because I really only play with my friends and we like roleplay heavy games. If you don't like that, then don't use this system, because it tends to be a roleplay heavy one, and all that kind of stuff. But because players can craft it, and especially because players who are not specialists in magic can, in theory, you know, just like follow a written set of instructions to imbue an item with a rune, right? Like that's the concept behind it. Anyone can do it. I like the idea that anything, like weird things can happen especially if you're not an expert at this, and you can end up with a sentient item or a cursed item. And so I always like to kind of give some basic attributes about what would happen or what the item would look like if that happens. So if it's a sentient item, like the way I always do it, I kind of like to sort of do the personalities where it's like, you know, you have your alignment chart, and based on, like, you would just kind of roll it randomly, and based on whatever alignment you landed with, you would add some of these different traits to it. But the way I do it is not just in terms of personality, like, oh, it's like friendly, you know, like it's friendly but random, you know, for good or chaotic good or whatever. I like to actually have some slight modifications to the power, that are for the sentient, it's largely like an extra bonus, because the idea is that the sentient item, no matter what the personality is, wants to be a unit with the player, right? Like they want to, have the player succeed, whether it's for their own personal gain or for, the team's gain, is up to, the personality of the item. But the way I do it is, if it's good, it'll do something better for the user. If it's evil, it'll do something bad to enemies, right? So it's like those are both beneficial to the user, but it kind of changes the nature of it a little bit. And then lawful, I always like to have it be, oops, hold on a second. I gotta see this something really quickly here. This might be important for work. Okay, hold on a second. I'll have to take care of that later. We'll do that later. All right, let's see here. Yeah, so if it's good, I like to add sort of like an additional thing that helps the user. If it's evil, something that harms an enemy. If it's lawful, I like to make it so it's more focused in its abilities. And if it's chaotic, I like to have it be a bit more widespread in its capabilities. So for this one, so if it's good, right? So it's like it can anything within the item, and the item itself is hidden from divination magic and all that kind of stuff. If it's good, I like to what I'm thinking is the item is alert to the item is alert to how do I want to say this? Is alert to magical happenings around it. Will alert the owner if it can sense someone trying to detect through divination in the area. So it's like it's gonna let you know, like, oh hey, someone's trying to find this. Like I'm blocking it here, but I can tell someone's trying to do it. It just kind of gives you a little ping. And then if it's evil, my thought is item is crafty. If I can spell. Now, if someone tries to detect it, it will give a false response that will misdirect the one trying to detect, right? So it's like it'll kind of give back like a fake radar pulse across the street or something, and make someone kind of go in an opposite direction or something like that. It's really crafty. Yeah, sentient items in general. I again, as always, I just love the chaos that these things can add to a game. I'm a big fan of the chaos. Always a big fan of the chaos. That's just my jam. My jam. Always love it. So now if it has a lawful personality, so I like to narrow it a little bit. Trying to think about how you would narrow it though, because we have pretty defined lines of what this item's capable of, just because it's like the one item. I'm wondering if we can, like, the trick is to try and like not make it so much extra powerful it's broken. Because chaotic, I think, would be easy. It kind of gives off a little bit of like a surrounding bubble, so that items placed like immediately next to it are also not detectable or something like that, right? Which is kind of minimally useful, but like, hey, it's like if you want something to be not detected but in quick reach, right? Like say you've got some sort of special, knife that you use for home defense, and you have this item that's like a chest of non-detect. You can use it as a nightstand, and so you just put the knife on top of it so they can't detect that there's the knife there, and you've got that for your self-defense, right? But it's like quickly grabbable or something. I don't know. It's not up to me how it gets used. It's just up to me how it gets made. I'm gonna do that right now. The aura is let's see here, the aura of non-detect. Not non-detect. Yeah, I did spell non-detect right. It's just not actually a word. Which again, all words are made up. It isn't actually a word. It's fine. The aura of non-detect expands a little beyond the item, allowing anything touching the item to be to not be detectable. We'll say even just leaning against it outside of the item. Boom. There we go. There's a lot of like vagary involved in these, but I'm not a good enough writer to think about how to do it better right now. Let's see here. I don't know how would this be a more narrow yet maybe slightly more powerful thing. I'm wondering if it's just like, I'm wondering if we can do something like item is very protective though not good at multitasking. Can only keep one item hidden regardless of the size of it, right? So the idea is like if you've got like a gunny sack, you can't, like, you can only put one coin in there to have it be hidden rather than putting a whole bunch of them. So it's like you can only do one item hidden regardless of the size of it, but it also magically averts the gaze of anyone physically looking for it, making it almost impossible to be found at all by anyone other than the owner, right? So it's like you can only, so it's like extra protective of a singular item or something like that is sort of the thought. Sort of the thought there. Hey, lady, it's good to see you there. I see you sneaking in there. Name was, okay, Rise Sovereign, channeling with adventures, likes its own freedom, and if something tries to force it to be contained, literally try to take over the host to get away. That almost sounds like a cursed item. That like borders on cursed. I like it. That's what the next thing is if our players were to accidentally create a cursed item here. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Oh, hold up. Bot management time. Oh, geez. And now Nightbot's getting mad at the not bot for being enthusiastic. Boy, oh boy. Okay, hold on. We at least got the real bot out of here. My bad. Well, not my bad. It's Nightbot's bad. Nightbot is, it's got the spirit, but it gets confused sometimes. One of these days I'll try and, like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's really nice to have, but yeah. Better than Moobot? I'm not even familiar with Moobot. I don't know if I want to know what Moobot is. I mean, I think I can take a guess, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let's see here. Nice to have, except when it's not. That is just like the best way to describe it. It's like computers in general. They're great, except when they're not. Yeah. Yep, that's the nature of it. Anyways, if our players, it was the precursor before our better one came out. The OG Nightbot. Interesting. All right, so if our players goof up and they make a cursed item, the way I like to do my cursed items is give them like some really powerful benefits, but really have like some sort of drawback to it. And the trick is to always toe the line to make it so that players would probably still be willing to try using it. But then if things go wrong, it'll be like really go wrong, right? Like and there's not really a clear way to describe it, but it's something that I strive for because I just like, again, I love the chaos. So if I can convince players to like try using it, all the better, you know? So it's like, So my thought is, like, with it being, with like the extra powerful benefits, uh, my thought is, kind of almost like combining the effects of the chaotic and the lawful, right? Where it's like, it can also like hide anything touching it from like magical divination, which then, like, if it's a satchel that you're carrying, it includes you, right? So it's really powerful. It's a really powerful item. Um, so I think I'm gonna do that. Let's see here. Can make anything touching it in any way not detectable by divination magics. So anything touching it. So again, on the outsides and all that kind of stuff. And it has the ability to magically avert the gaze of anyone. Oops, not on. Of anyone looking for it, making it nearly impossible to find. I almost like the idea of the problematic side effect being, it does not discern between owner and enemy. So if owner loses track of it, it's basically gone forever because you can't detect it. You can't physically find it, and it's gone. Like, you have to remember where it is, right? So it's like, if you can at least remember, like, oh yeah, no, I put it in the nightstand, which is right next to the bed, right? Then you can, like, even if you're having trouble physically seeing it, you can still, like, kind of grope around, find your nightstand, grab it, and find your gunny sack. But if you drop it somewhere, gone. Just gone. Gone forever. Gone forever. Until someone, like, trips over it because you dropped it on the pathway or something like that. What it takes to remove here. So we're definitely going to say must be removed magically. If it feels offended, or a player, or rather we'll say, or an owner tries to misuse it, it may willingly try to be lost. So it's like, if it gets really mad at you, it might just be like, well, fine, then I'm out of here, and just, like, intentionally try to, like, fall out of your pocket or something like that, is sort of what my thought is. It's basically just a little shit that'll be like, fine, I'm running away from home, and it'll do that, regardless of if you have anything in there or not. It'll just try and do that. Well, let's see here. Oh, you gave it 3 ultimatums. Kept in one place for 24 hours. Literally demand to be given someone against the outside. 24 hours, and absolutely no one can go into it for another day. Alright. More than 3 days, when you make itself unusable until taken out of its containment. Huh, interesting. Alright, fair enough. I do like the idea of, like, the item making demands, right? Just like in general, whether it's like explicit or implicit. The concept of an item just being like, I demand that you do this. You have to do this for me. I kind of like that idea. I think that's great. But I think this is good here. I like this. I really like just the concept of this one. Isn't you couldn't even hurt a speck of dust with a blade. Oh, I see what you're saying. It just, like, renders itself inert. That's funny. That is pretty funny. Because can you imagine someone not being aware that it's doing that? And so they like, have it, and it is useless. Oh, boy. I like that. All right, sweet. I like this item. I like this item a lot. I want to do at least one more before we start working on the campaign. But first things first, I need to run to the bathroom really quickly, and there's something for my day job I got to quickly respond to. So I'm going to disappear for just like half a minute, not even that long probably. And I'll be right back. I appreciate your patience. I will be back very shortly. Alright, I'm back. Apologize for that delay. Appreciate your patience. I sometimes forget that my boss for my day job is a very, very literal person. And so if you, like, are relating something and you like, are trying to copy something, you can't paraphrase. You have to cut and paste. Otherwise, there will be questions about whether or not you learned something different or whatever. It's like, no, the same substance. I was just using better grammar, but okay, I will use as written. And I should know better. I should know better. It's on me. It's on me. I should know better. I should know better than to ever try to paraphrase anything. I should just be a smarter individual than I am. But here we are. It's okay though. Issues taken care of, moving forward. Very, very normal day in the life type stuff for me. Let's make more magical items. That's more interesting than me trying to appease a boss with very particular ideas about how things are done. Oh boy. All right, we did this one. Let's get one more. Let's get one more of these done, and then we'll work on our campaign a little bit. Protection from. Oh, come on, just show me what's the full wording of it. Why do this? Why do this? Not helpful. Fine, we'll just open it up this way. Protection from energy. There it is. Ugh, it's just not helpful when it does it that way. Energy, there we go. Thank you. Thank you for having my back. If I knew spells better, I'd be able to know that, but as a forever DM, I don't actually have to spend a whole lot of time memorizing spell lists and stuff. From energy. That's the one thing that's always really kind of funny to me. I get, like, my players ask me a whole lot of questions about their characters. I always do my best, but for someone who's been a DM for the better part of a decade, I have an embarrassingly poor understanding of protection from enemies. That was what my first thought was protection from enemies. I was like, wow, that's a pretty powerful spell there. Like, why? I'd use that one all the time. But yeah, I have a surprisingly poor understanding of, like, player character rules and stuff like that, because I never do it. I never use PCs. Like, I never use PCs. I'm a DM. So, like, whenever I have to deal with spells, they exist in the stat block already. I don't have to think about spell lists and stuff. They're just kind of there. Yeah, it is the curse of the forever DM. It's like, I love DMing, don't get me wrong, but yeah, people are like, which would be better for my character? Do this or this? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want your character to be able to do? Choose that one. Like, I don't know. Like, I call my players, bless their hearts, because they're at this point in time, actually, they're really good. But when I first started playing with them, it was like a year and a half ago. At this point in time, I first started playing with the group that I still play with now, and they were brand new, had never played D&D before, and like they were asking all kinds of questions about, like, oh well, like, what does this mean? How do I do this? How do I do this? And I'm like, honestly, your guess is as good as mine. As long as you got a reasonable interpretation, we'll call it good, because my job is to, like, figure out how to balance enemies for you guys. Like, I don't know the details about how to do a rogue with sneak attack. Like, I don't know about the fine-tuning points of that. I don't know what spells you should do. It's really funny. It's really funny. But, you know, eventually, just through exposure from having players learning things, I'm kind of picking up on it. But yeah, no, it's funny. I always feel like I disappoint people with my poor knowledge of player characters. Create a special invocation for your Warlock in your Sunday campaign. I like that idea. I mean, like, honestly, I'm all about homebrew. It's like, make the game exactly what you want. It's so great. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much my approach. That's a really good approach to it, I feel. If it doesn't ruin everyone's fun, do it. I don't care. You know, like, because people will worry about, like, especially with, like, at this project, right, where I give my players runes so they can have more powerful items. People always worry. They're like, well, doesn't that make players overpowered? It's like, bitch, I'm the DM. We're working in a homebrew world. I can give them literal God to fight if it's getting too easy for them. I'm just giving them this stuff so that way they can do awesome, rad things to describe to each other. It's like, oh, you want to create a lightsaber in fantasy? Fuck yeah, let's see it. Let's figure out how to make a lightning sword or something. Call it a lightsaber. Hell yeah. Like, that sounds fucking rad. Let's do it. Like, I don't care about balance or anything like that. It's a fantasy game. Nothing makes sense. Whatever. King's Glaive. That allows you to teleport your weapon, and the handle is in your hand. Interesting. Okay. All right. That's all right. Yeah. That's kind of a cool idea that like you teleport to the weapon as opposed to the other way around. I like that. I like that. It is not to allow a player to substitute a second bonus action in place of their action. If I don't run into that too often with my players because they're usually very eager to use their action. It's usually the opposite way around. I will also say that I always take it on a case-by-case basis, but I'm at least always willing to entertain the discussion, right? I'm always willing to entertain it. It kind of depends on what the bonus action is and like what the functions are of it. But as a general rule, I'm typically willing to at least entertain the idea. Just since typically bonus actions are less powerful than their actions. But like there are some times when it's like, you know, like if a bonus action is like used once per day or something like that, you know, like the once per day is usually because it's extra powerful. So it's like, should they be able to stack those two things? I don't know. And if the bonus action is dependent on an action, then no. So it's like, you know, a case by case basis. But I'm not going to sit here and say no before I hear out the argument, right? I'll always listen to the argument. Because like I said, and a lot of this is, like, I have the privilege of doing this because I have a group of friends that I play with, and we play every week, and we're really good friends. We were friends really, like, we're friends separate of the D&D campaign, right? Like, we don't only know each other through D&D. So for us, it's a lot easier for us to be like, yeah, screw the rules. That sounds awesome for your character to do that. Freaking do it. You know, and we do that just for the sake of telling a fun story to each other. So yeah, it kind of depends. Use it equal to your proficiency, or range limit 60 feet. They got a mall. Real cool scene if it happens. Yeah, in general. I mean, I think it's I like the idea of like, almost like the idea of being able to do like, you know, you throw the weapon as like an improvised thrown weapon and then you teleport to it or something like that, so you can like almost get like an extra attack or a ranged attack on it and like teleport yourself right there, if for no other reason because it sounds like it would look badass. So it's like, hell yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, it's, yeah, I'm very loose with the rules. That's my approach. And I know I've had players in the past that were frustrated by that. They really wanted everything to be, you know, by the books. And so it's like, I get it that that's what some people like. But it's just never really been my way, because like, if you want rules done by the books without modifications, then, you know, play a video game that doesn't allow modding. You know, it's like, that's where like hard, steady rules come in. The point of D&D is to tell a super awesome story with your friends, I always feel. Obsessive, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're having a good time. Tiny Rogue is known for getting herself found in groups. I mean, they're tiny. They can sneak into places. Obvi. Oh boy. It's, world building is one of those hobbies that has small numbers, but like those that are part of it are very passionate. Very passionate. I've been doing world building since the first time, I guess like in a loose definition of world building, since the first time I saw my sister, my older sister, playing Myst. I was just fascinated with the idea of building a world in a book and then having it be something that can be visited and explored and adventured in. And so that just kind of began it. I would start with small stories, and it has slowly turned into an entire fantasy world as well as an entire sci-fi universe that I kind of bounce between writing in, depending on what projects I'm working on at any given time. Is the group being hostile against the rogue, or a giant maul is thrown into the middle? Oh goodness. Yeah, no, like just the idea of teleporting to a weapon really has some cool visual implications to it. I like it a lot. Let's see here. Protection from energy. What the hell am I doing? I call this a writing stream, and then half the time I sit here and just like geek out and talk about D&D and don't actually write things. And one of these days people are going to get after me about false advertising. Joke's on them, though. All of my streams are viewable for free, so it's not like you're out any money. Ha ha ha. Oh boy. Let's see here. Okay, so this one should be pretty quick and easy as well. And then make that a bullet point. Book series idea. Readable writing skill. Discovered critical role at beginning of C2. Okay, yeah. Yep. It's very Critical Role. That's one of the things I love about Critical Role. I know Critical Role gets plenty of criticisms from people. It's clearly more popular than it is criticized in general, but it gets a lot of criticisms. But the thing, regardless of how you feel about their approach to, interpreting rules and stuff, and their approach to this, that, or the other thing, they are such an awesome gateway into it because they make it so approachable to everyone. It's I'm such a fan of them just for that reason alone, just because they have been very important in like legitimizing the hobby of D&D and world building and all that kind of stuff. It's awesome. Oh boy. Using that teleportation mace just to jump scare people. That's a fun idea. That's fun. All right, let's see here. So what the heck is going on with this spell? For the duration, the willing creature you touch has resistance to 1 damage type of your choice. Acid, cold, fire. Okay, yeah. So for the duration, we're going to say the creature touching the item has resistance. This is pretty easy. The creature touching the item has resistance to 1 damage. Or not 1 damage, 1 damage type. There it is. Don't want to be the clueless one. Yeah, absolutely. They're really good. They're really good at just like I said, just making it approachable. Because they're very personable and they really do a good job of it just being friends, goofing around and having fun, right? And they have like a wide range. They have like people who are just like goofballs about it and people who take it super seriously. So they like kind of legitimize whatever your personality type that's in there. They do a really good job with all that stuff. And for that, I will forever be thankful to the existence of Critical Role. Like I say, regardless of if as an individual you like listening to it, it's hard to deny the fact that they have really broadened the scope and audience of D&D, which is like there's nothing bad about getting more people involved in your hobby. Like some people like to be hipster about their hobbies and stuff like that, but I'm a firm believer that if you love a hobby, you should love it enough to want everyone in the world to love that hobby, right? Like that's the beautiful thing about hobby. Hobbies should be shared. They should be shared. Jump scared a demon before. That's great. I like it. I feel like that's a good turning of the tables there. I mean, yeah, like you can throw a heavy item, maybe limit how far it goes, but yeah, just like throw them, whatever. Oh, you met them. That's awesome. Oh yeah. Like I feel like that's another thing about them is like I feel like there's a very strong sense of like they're very genuine. They're very genuine. The whole group is, and I think that's great too. I think that, and again, that's just part of what makes it really approachable. Like they feel like genuine people who like genuinely just love the hobby and are amazed that other people like the hobby with them. And I think that really helps sell it to a lot of people too, right? Rather than making it feel like some sort of unapproachable cult or business, right? They're just dudes that are having fun with with the stuff they like to do. And that's great. It's great stuff. Let's see. For the duration, the creature touching the item has resistance to 1 damage type of your choice. Yeah, this is perfect. So this could be type of item. I want to make this basically any wearable item here. Any wearable item. And the thing about all this too is because all of these are like part of a homebrew world system or homebrew rule system, all of these are kind of malleable. So it's like if my players come up with a different idea on how to use this based on how the spell is written, it's like, hell yeah, do that, whatever. Magic is a fluid thing anyway. Magic is fluid and it can be, and like I don't view Magic as like a deck of cards and like you have definitive cards. It's more so Magic is like a cookbook. And there are recipes that will yield certain specific results if you follow the recipe properly, but you can also experiment and change the recipe up a little bit, right? That's how I view it anyway. I heard fans who expect, yeah, well, and that's like the thing about it always is like fandoms ruin things. Fandoms, like obsessive fandoms can be difficult. But you get that in any hobby. If you look in the wrong places. So I try to not hold that against them. It's that's how it is. Yeah, you get purists and everything like that, and the best thing to do is recognize that they're one voice among a much more prevalent silent majority when it comes to hobbies and fandoms and stuff like that. For every one person screaming negative things, there are 100 people who are just quietly enjoying it. And so, yeah, and that's like, yeah, like you're saying with shows and stuff like that. Like I say, for every one person who's loudly being negative, there are usually 100 people rolling their eyes and ignoring them. You know, so it's like, and that's the best response to it too, is just ignore them. Just ignore negative people in general. Like, it's the best you can do, because the reason they're louder is they want attention. So if you just don't satisfy it, they'll go be loud somewhere else at the very least. At the very least, they'll go be loud somewhere else. That's the best thing you can do. Which is hard because you want to try and shout back and shout them down. But if someone's opening up the conversation with loud negativity, they want the fight. They want it to be a fight, and all you are doing is satisfying them. So you just got to ignore them. You just got to ignore them. That's how it always is. Ignore the haters, man. That's what you got to do. You got to ignore the haters. Yeah, when they start attacking, that's like, there's a certain irony behind that too. When the negative people start attacking the people that are like producing the thing that they're a part of the fandom of, it's like, wait, hold on. Who exactly are we angry at here? Yeah, for sure. It's always a tough thing, but hey, you know, it's all part of navigating life in social circles, you know what I mean? It's all part of it. Best you can do is just ignore them and keep being a positive fan. And gosh dang it, my nose is doing that thing. It's doing that thing it does. My nose does this thing where it itches. And we're not talking like inside of the nose, allergy, sneezy stuff. I'm talking like outside the nose, like just the tip of my nose starts itching, and it keeps doing it. And once it starts, it won't stop. It's like some weird neurological nonsense, and it drives me insane. And I feel like a crazy person because I'm sitting here just like scratching my nose, like I've got some sort of like cocaine habit or something. And that's not it, because I would never admit that out loud, regardless of if it's true. No, it's just like the tip of my nose itches, and I feel like I look insane. I'm just sitting here like, like a dog with a tick or something. Sorry, I ran over. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. It's really weird. I think it once it starts happening too, it like keeps going. It just keeps going because like the vibrations of my voice kind of vibrate my face or whatever. Kieran, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm glad the tipping point was me scratching my nose and drawing a lot of attention to it. Oh my goodness. See, I do get the stray mustache hairs. I do get that, but I can always tell the difference because like my mustache is trim enough that it's down here. It's down here. You know, but like the itching right now is like up here on the tip of the nose. I don't have hairs long enough to reach up there. I don't know what it is. I'm just a crazy person, and there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, it's just ugh. Just ugh. Drives me insane. Oh boy, the Phantom Coke. Yeah, I didn't even know it. Someone coming up here is just driving me insane. Start getting into more niche and like new tabletop RPGs. I love reading through. I've got a small collection on my. Can you see it from where? Yeah, you can kind of this way. You can see my bookshelf. Right there, right where I'm pointing. That's my bookshelf, and on there is a large collection of smaller, less known tabletop RPG systems because I love reading through them. I love different settings. I love different rule systems. I have yet to get a group that wants to play anything other than D&D or Starfinder with me. But my hope is that if I just continue to get them and continue to learn about them and continue to be obsessed with them, eventually one day, maybe this group that's been going for a year and a half now and is showing no signs of slowing down because we play online. Like, we're friends and we hang out in real life, but we play online so that way we can play every week without having to worry about people driving places and all that kind of stuff on a weeknight, right? My hope is that one of these days I'll be able to convince them to start trying some other more fringe tabletops with me. That's my hope. It's part of my, that's really, it's all part of my evil, sinister plan to get them hooked and addicted so that way they can just fuel my addiction. It's perfect. We can be a bunch of enablers together. Just as God intended. Anyway. Exactly. It's a beautiful goal to strive to. May we both find success sooner rather than later. Oh boy. Let's see. Okay, example item. My initial thought here is I'm just gonna make a ring. Ring. We'll just say energy protection ring. Bada bing, bada boom. Pretty simple there. We'll say. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to change this a little bit here. I want to change this just a little bit here. I'm going to change this up here. Resistance to one type of damage of one type of your choice, determined when first imbuing the item. So you make it so it can only have one. It can only have one of those things, right? You can't choose every time. You basically just make a ring of cold protection or whatever, right? That's it. Okay. All right. Oh shoot, I gotta catch up. Here. And Lancer, mech based. Okay, I've heard about mech based. I don't know if I recognize the term Lancer, but I've heard about mech based in general, which is intriguing. Fired by armored core. Oh, let's see here. I think the one you talked about second, Apocalypse Frame. I think that's the one I've heard of before. I've heard about that one. Mechs have always been interesting to me. Like I'm kind of interested in them, but never as interested as like hardcore mech fans. Like I just kind of have like, oh yeah, that's neat. Is like my thought on them. So I always feel like I'm not into it as much as other people are. Combo, absolutely you should share a bad joke. Those are the best kind of jokes. Battletech? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. I don't, like, there's so many things that exist for mechs and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just all like, a mech is a mech. Which spell creates a hologram of a child? I don't know. Hologram, child image? Chris Hansen? Minor illusion. There it is. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. I like it. I like it a lot. I make minor/minor, like minor, miner, and like I make all of those kind of jokes all the time. I dig it. I like it. minor illusion. I always think of it as being like an illusion, but it's just a child. It's just a little baby illusion. It's a minor illusion. It's not an adult illusion. Ooh, adult illusion has weird connotations. I'm not gonna say that one again. My apologies. Yeah, that one's a little weird. Okay, let's see here. So when first imbuing the item, so energy protection ring, and so we're gonna say rings that can be imbued with the magical ability to protect the wearer from specific types of energy. We'll say popular among workers working in extreme environments, such as we can say such as blacksmiths working with hot molten metals, needing resistance from fire, right? Just like a simple item like that. Minor and minor are the same thing. Exactly. Stay in Starfinder. I used detect magic. But not much was found, so I was like, yeah, get his big brother. Exactly. That's good. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Arcane sight. Yep, there you go. I have convinced my players. That once we're done with our current D&D campaign, that they are going to be interested in playing a Starfinder game with me. I've convinced them that they want to do that. So now we got to finish our D&D campaign, so that way I can run a Starfinder campaign, which I'm super excited about. How's it going, Dr. Court? Good to see you. How to protect your mind. Pillar of quantum goo. Why would you even want to do that? I'm curious. I'm curious about what would prompt you to want that. Because that, I mean, personally, I don't know that that's what I'd want to do. I don't know. Dr. Quirk, right now, it started as a warm-up, but we've been continuing to do it. I have this project that I do where I've been slowly turning all of the D&D 5e spells into runes that can be used to enchant items for my players in their games. That way they can just get wackier, more fun, chaos-inducing items. And so we're just kind of slowly, we're going to work on one of those, and then after that we're going to spend the rest of the time working on the campaign project that I've been writing on stream. So, well, that's what we're trying to do, but all y'all have such creative ideas. I keep getting distracted and having more fun with that. What enchantment would be on a thick pair of glasses? I don't know. You'll have to tell me. Finding it over 300 different realities? That sounds dysfunctional. Light on a crossbow as tracer runs. Yeah, things like that, exactly. Like that type of creativity. That's the type of stuff that like is the idea behind it. Dork vision. Womp womp. That one's even better. Used to being in different realities. I still don't know that makes it good. That still sounds dangerous and dysfunctional. Alright, let's see the mechanics of this bad boy. How it's cast. For these types of things, if it's once per day, I always just do like, just to kind of help keep it a little balanced. For this one, I like to do once per day when like the power word or whatever is spoken is usually how I like to do it. That way it's not like too overpowered. All that kind of stuff. Un segundo. Un segundo. I have to manage 8 million things all at once. Oh boy. Oh man, my nose still itches. It's driving me insane. I feel like a crazy person. I am a crazy person, but I feel like it too. Big identified dark vision, true sight. Yeah. Migraine. May have a migraine, but it's fine. Migraines are not fine. I used to get those as a kid. Decidedly not fine. Depending on how bad the migraine is. Oh my goodness. Range. Contact. Like you have to be contacting it. We'll just say only impacts those in contact. There we go. The duration. What is the duration of this as a baseline? I mean, it would be kind of interesting to make it so that it's like it could just be like a permanent thing, like you just wear it and you're permanently resistant. But like for all my big talk on not worrying too much about making things unbalanced, that I feel like there's limits because I don't want a player to just like be able to create like a series of rings that make them immune to everything. The cloak's similar to it. Okay, yeah. Reaction to get advantage on save. Sentient magical. Elemental, capable of talking to the wearer. Yeah. I always, you'll see when we get there, I always include the potentiality for players to accidentally goof up the like recipe for crafting these items and like enchanting them so that they can become sentient and or cursed. I always like doing that because more chaos is better. Oh my gosh, jeez, oh Pete, it's like you're trying to shred the brain of that character. My goodness, you guys. These are insane. These are nuts. Duration is 1 hour. Perfect. We'll just go ahead and leave that as it is. Duration equals 1 hour. Boom. Easy. And this one is, I mean, it's just kind of like a buff. What do they call it? What do they call it technically? Yeah, it's just a buff. Buff and warding. Yeah. We kind of don't even really need this for it, honestly. That's just kind of like classification stuff that doesn't really even need to be there. Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Plenty of sentient things are mute by choice. That's absolutely true. Nat 1 on the crafting check? Yeah, exactly. Nat 1, like, it's basically like,
I kind of modify it, so it's like have them do. It's more so like have them roll a D100, and depending on their skill level, it's like going up from 1 is the chance that it's cursed, and going down from 100 is the chance that it's sentient. Is the way I like to do it. Dash up to 200 feet. I mean, I'm not saying that it's necessarily it wasn't an okay option given the circumstances. I'm just saying that regardless of the circumstances, that's dangerous. Power word quill. You're talking your combo. Now you're entering Ring of the Grammarian territory. You're entering Ring of the Grammarian, where you can change like one letter of a spell to change the effects completely, and it's just you do it. You just handle it based on what they decide to change it to, which is an awesome item concept. I love that was invented at some point in time at all. This is great. All right, so if it's sentient, just needs to select the correct gem corresponding. That'd be an interesting way to do it. Yeah, that'd be an interesting way for them to do multiple. Like I say, for this one, it's like the ring in general. You have to make it like you have to when you're enchanting the item at all. You have to, like, the baseline is you choose which one it is, but all items, the way I see it, any item can be enchanted with multiple things. You know, the one thing that I like to do also, though, is, like, sometimes maybe the magics will, like, interplay with each other if you put multiple things on there, and it'll have unexpected consequences and whatnot. I do like the idea, though, of, like, a ring that has multiple inlaid enchanted gems to have multiple impacts. I mean, essentially, you could just make the power glove, you know, from Avengers, right? You could just go with that option at that point in time, and you just have like the different stones on different knuckles. So here's how I do sentience, because since it's a really rare thing, I like to have it not just be personality, but it also kind of modifies the impacts of it a little bit. And so the way I do it is, if it's good, it adds a little bit of a bonus to the person. Like, it adds something good to the person using it. If it's evil, it'll do something bad to the enemy of the person using it. If it's lawful, it'll narrow its focus a little bit, but make it a bit stronger. And if it's chaotic, it broadens its focus, but diffuses the power a little bit. And you just kind of use those as loose interpretations. But that's how I always do it. So that way there's like something more than just me making it say goofy things or whatever, just to make it extra fun. Because like that also, if it has possible benefits, that kind of makes it the opposite of like a cursed item, which has drawbacks and stuff like that. I have to warn about dangers, including damage from the spell. Sure, that's an option. My thought with the good item would be like, well, I don't know. I guess my first thought was like it could, rather than be resistance, it's flat out immunity, but that's a little OP. A little OP. I don't know if I would specify it as like dog personality, but yeah, kind of the idea about it, kind of warning the player a little bit, would be interesting. Trying to think. The other thing that I like to do sometimes too is that it can, like, for the evil, what I might do is like, because I try to have it do a negative impact on the enemy. The idea of like these types of things that offer resistance to a damage. I sometimes like to have it do like it can offer blowback, right? So it's like if it gives you resistance from lightning, you know, then like what it'll do is it'll like build up a static charge, and then it'll diffuse that a little bit on the enemy hitting them, right? So it'll give a little blowback. So it'll do like 1d6 of that energy type back at the enemy or something like that. So we'll say can offer blowback damage based on the damage caused. Will do 1d6 of the same damage type on the enemy who did the damage, or who attacked the wearer. There we go. Wearer. There it is. Book name Gab. Although the intelligence, if time PC slept, move closer to cover fully. Okay, fair enough. I dig it. Yep, yeah, exactly. You can make them cast. You can make it so that the player can cast it. Yeah, there's like an infinite number of items, possibilities, and like I say, all of it's malleable. Like the idea is that I want the players to be, I want the players to be able to sort of, you know, come up with their ideas too. I always just put this to kind of give myself a barometer, so that way if like this doesn't get used until like 2 years after I've made it, I kind of understand where my mindset was at the time and try to keep some consistency going. Good 2 types. Okay, yeah, I like that idea. I think I'll go with that one. Actually, I really like that one. Is very protective. It's very protective. Offers user protection from 2 types of damage, but we're still going to say chosen when first imbued. Right, when it's first put in there, you still have to do that. Hellish Rebuke, yeah, I mean, to a degree. Kinda, in a way. You're not wrong. Let's see here. So lawful, narrowing the focus, but making it more powerful. So my thought about this one, lawful, is here's how I'm thinking to narrow the focus. So it's the duration of 1 hour, right? What I think I'm going to say is, let me think here. How do I want to phrase this? Absorb kind of. Well, here's what I'm thinking for lawful. So it narrows the focus and makes it a little bit more powerful. So rather than lasting for an hour, my thought is only lasts for 30 seconds. So 5 rounds, lasts 5 rounds. But makes the wearer completely immune to the damage type, right? So it's like it's much more narrow, but if they like have the right type of ring and they activate it, then suddenly like the thing is just like they're just immune to that type. It's kind of what my thought is there. Quarter damage, area effect, subtract 1d(x) from any other magical type, chosen type, chaotic. That's not bad. My thought with chaotic is that it would almost like you could almost have it, like you could have it create an aura rather than like only impacting the person wearing it. It could create an aura so that the person wearing it and anyone next to them could have like resistance or something like that. But that diffuses it, but that doesn't really weaken it at all. But I like the idea of the quarter damage. Done to it as a way to sort of like weaken it. Or rather, like it would do, like it only protects you for a quarter of the damage. I don't know, that starts getting a little more complicated though. Determined randomly upon, ooh, I like that one. Thing. I'd like to see chaotic as different, maybe something like being used as an elemental weapon. Well, you would have to choose, like it would have to, like I mean, you could, I don't know, I feel like if you're turning this is a defensive type of spell, and so I feel like it has to be a defensive type of thing. But I like the idea of the chaotic is, it's randomly chosen. I like that idea. Like it's the one way that you could have multiple, but it chooses randomly. Is indecisive. Can't decide what type of damage to protect from. So randomly chooses a damage type, and we'll say roll 1d6 to determine. I kind of want to say on natural 1 misfires and does nothing have to try again next round. That's the other drawback of it too. Oh boy. I like that. I like that. 10 types of magical damage. Yeah, there's a bunch of different types. I'm doing it based on the way the spell's written. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. Because it's choosing those, it's got those 5 written in the spell there. So that's what I'm basing it off of there. Because, like, you know, as it's written, that's how I would interpret it anyway. At least at my table, that's how I'd interpret it. So I'm just keeping consistent with myself there. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see here. So, okay, that's good. That's good for if it's sentient. Yeah, right. Elements, not your 70s easy listening band style elements either. Earth, wind, fire, whatever. The true neutral sentience is that it just works as it is and occasionally makes comments on what you do. If it's true neutral, you're just like, yeah, you're out of luck as far as bonus things go. Acid's an element. It's in my stomach. That makes it an element, right? Like stomach acid. I don't know. The element of acid. It's on the periodic table of elements, right? It's like right between, I don't know, argon and whatever's next to argon. Acid. It's a single thing. People use that word wrong all the time. All right. If it's cursed. So the way I do cursed items is there's like an extra powerful benefit, but there's also a drawback to it. So my thought here is item offers resistance to all resistance to all element types. True neutral should possibly allow forces one more time. I mean, if that's the way you want to do it, go for it. But nope, for me, true neutral means that it's just like, yeah, it's just kind of chatty. It doesn't do anything else unique. I mean, it does its stuff, but that's just what I like to do for it. I like true neutral to just be like, yeah, it's just like your bro that hangs out and, like, you know, I mean, it might cheer you on, but it doesn't do anything for you. The fun benefit there is that it's a talking item. Liquid covers water. That's right. Yeah. There you go. Acid water, acid rain. There it is. Acid rain. That's the one. That's how it makes sense. All right. So here's what I want to do. Item offers resistance to all element types. The side effect is what I want to do. Item stores up the absorbed energy and must eventually release it. And so what I'm going to say here is will release a burst of stored energy type put potentially S so stored energy types of 10-foot radius impacting any within range other than the user. So it's like if you're not careful, you could accidentally, like if you're in the middle of combat or something and it's throwing up this energy and you're not paying attention and you're too close, you could end up doing damage to your teammates and stuff like that, right? So it's like I say, I like to try and find that balance between, like, you there's a drawback, but the exactly accidental TPK, right? Like it could have the potential to go very bad. If you're not being attentive, right? Like this one offers that ability for someone to be like, well, if I just pay attention to when it's going to release that energy, I could just like quickly get myself out the way and it'll be fine. But if they forget or something goes wrong, right, then suddenly they got a problem. True neutral sorcerer, just a guy who's like bored all the time and cast spells. I like that idea. Just piercing, bludgeoning, and slashing. Yeah, you could do that. I don't know. I like the idea of it being a bit more thematically focused like this. I kind of like this idea. A cantrip to charge it up. Yeah, I guess like in theory you could try and game the system a little bit and like have your teammate attack you with whatever it is. So you build up the energy, and then you just like kamikaze your way in, right? And just like sprint in there. That'd be kind of really funny. That'd be really funny to see, to see someone try and game the system like that. Like, I love that idea. I would love that idea. With Sentinel feet. Oh yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear. Everybody's reacting to everybody. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're the wearer and not hit, then go for it. Heck yeah. Hold on, I want to do something like this. What I want to do is burst is released 1 minute after first absorption of energy, right? So you've got a certain amount of time, got a very specific amount of time. Dr. Quark, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Glad you're having a good time. Burst is released 1 minute after first absorption of energy. Damage done is equal to damage absorbed. So it's like, if you absorb, like, so it's like, if you manage to avoid 12 points of damage or whatever, it will do 12 points of damage to anyone there. So it's like, the more energy it absorbs, the bigger the bomb is, right? So it's like, again, the concept of accidental TPK, it's like, heck yeah. So it's like, I could see this being like, the concept of this is that it would be really good, it would be a really good way to kind of goad players into trying to use it, but then it could go horribly wrong if they're not careful or if they do it wrong. And the other thing that's also about cursed items, so what it takes to remove must be removed magically. If player tries to remove the item, it will not budge and it holds a grudge. The next time energy is released, it will direct all energy towards the wearer alone. So if you try to get rid of it, it'll direct that to. You chop your finger off to remove it. If it's a ring, I suppose you could try to do that. My thought is always that, like, a cursed item, especially because we're talking about magic and nothing makes sense anyway. My thought is that it would be really fun. My thought is always that it would be like one of those things where it's like, if you take it off your finger and try to throw it away, right? Like, you know, in this one I'm saying like it won't budge. But my thought is always like, if you take it off your finger and try to throw it away, you'll feel it come off your finger, and as soon as you throw it, it'll just reappear on your finger. And like, there's nothing you can do to avoid it. This is what I always think. Go time-based. Nullifying the drawback. Time still passes even when battle is done, my friend. At least that's how I interpret time. So, if combat ends after 30 seconds and they're not paying attention, you just kind of think about it. It's like, okay, what do you do afterwards? Okay, I go search the body. All right. It takes longer than 30 seconds to do that. While you're doing that, kaboomers. Time continues to pass. It doesn't matter whether or not you're actually keeping track of it. Make one ring slowly. I mean, a lot of rings kind of end up being that way in general. And also in regards to a damage cap, fuck that. It's a cursed item. If it goes up there, that's great. But the flip side of it is if you try to do that, that thing is going to go ahead and just explode you. It's a vengeful cursed item. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't care what's fair. Oh boy. Yeah, because like the other thing about it too is like it's offering like resistance, right? So you still take damage. So it's like the more you try to build it up, the more you're taking damage in general. So like there's going to be a natural damage cap just based on what the health is of the wearer too. Like there's a certain level of built-inness to it, the way it is. Meant releases at a certain threshold. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could. I see what you're saying. Instead of doing time-based. Yeah, I mean, I think that's perfectly legitimate. And if my players approached me with that idea, I'd be like, sure, if that's the way you want to do it, that's great. I'm okay with that because that could still have accidental consequences if they're trying to game the system and then someone gets a crit hit on them or something like that. It's like, uh-oh, you know, someone gets a critical hit on an arrow, you know, that does like a fire arrow or something like that does that damage while they're standing next to their teammates. You know, that'd be great. Fire immunity in the ring. Can you charge? Do you mean like charge up? Fire spell. Take investment in fire spell. I'm not perfectly sure I'm grasping what you're saying there with that. Potentially less predictable. Yeah, I think I think either one could work. I think either one could work, and I think either one could potentially have a lot of negative consequences depending on how close players are paying attention to things. Because there's part of me that really likes the idea of a player knowing that they're on a ticking time, like they've got a ticking time bomb, and like a battle finishes and like, I'll be right back, and then they just like sprint off away from everyone, and you see this like big fireball that's like, and then they like run back. Okay, all good to go. Oh, I see what you're saying. So if something else happens and you become immune and it absorbs it, that's a good question. I guess my interpretation of this thing that I'm making up here is that it would still absorb. I would say it would absorb it similarly to if you had the resistance. So it'll still absorb half the damage, and then the other half that goes to you because you're now immune doesn't do anything to you. That's how I would say it. Charge the ring of fire damage to make the ring a bomb. Yeah, like that's what I'm interpreting you're saying, and that's how I would interpret it. So you could still do that if you make yourself immune to the fire damage. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that doing. Well, so like I guess the way I interpret it is if you're immune, that doesn't mean the damage still isn't being done, right? Like the damage is still being done, it just doesn't hurt you, right? Because like my thought is when something gives you resistance or immunity to fire damage, you're still engulfed in flames. It just doesn't do anything to you because you're immune to that fire, right? So it's like, you know, like I think about it just like immunity with like a vaccine or something, right? You get your flu vaccine, you still absorb flu particles, your body just knows how to fight it off so you don't get sick. Same with like the fire damage, right? You still get engulfed in flames. So my interpretation would be that ring absorbs that portion of the fire damage. Like it'll absorb that portion of the fire damage, and then the rest of it that would normally go to you, you are now immune to. That's how I would interpret it. That's how I would think about it. I agree. This would be a fun item to play. I like this one. I like all of them. I don't know. I think I've said that about every single one of these that I made. And I think it's just because it's a fun mechanic that really adds a lot of chaos and goofiness and zaniness to the game, which is I'm a big fan of personally. If you wanted like a gritty realism, this wouldn't be a good system. But if you like just wild and crazy fantastical stuff, then yeah, let's get going with it. Hell yeah. Love it. I love it all. No, I like this item. I like this item. End up overthinking. No. See, that's the beauty of world building and inventing things. It gives you a reason to overthink things. It really just feeds into that personality trait, which some might argue is kind of a bad thing, depending on what you overthink. But personally, when you're overthinking how to make a game more fun for your friends, I think it's permissible. I think we can let it slide. That's how I do it. That's how I do it. And besides, don't sit there and scold yourself for overthinking, because I'm sitting here enabling it and overthinking it with you. So you're in good company. It's fine. It's fine. All right, with this one finished, I need to. I do a really good job of keeping myself hydrated, but it means I need to make pity whistles again. I'm not taking you guys with me for that. That's a different streaming service, and you got to pay me a lot more money for that one. But I'm gonna run to the bathroom, and I'll be right back. And when I get back, we're gonna switch over, and we're gonna work on writing some more of the campaign that we've been working on. So sit tight, give me just like a minute, probably not even that much time, and I will be right back. Right. Okay. What are we nerd talking about now here? Hold on. What did I miss? Like for fire, cold, lightning, acid, or thunder. If you're immune, there's no damage to absorb, and there's concussive force, so it can wash over you. Yeah. I think any type of damage, I think it could still, in theory, work for it because the damage is still being done to you. You just don't get hurt by it. Right? You just don't get hurt. Like, if you're immune to bludgeoning damage, someone still hits you with a hammer, it just doesn't hurt you, right? So there's still that damage being done to absorb. It just wouldn't impact you one way or another, right? So it's like, because being immune or being resistant to something doesn't stop someone from doing something to you. It just stops that something from hurting you, right? Like, that's where I think the fundamental difference is. The thing is still being done to you. Like Dr. O'Cork is saying, it's concussive so it can wash over you, right? Like, yeah, like the shockwave can still wash over you, which means the item can still absorb some of that's being done to you, right? If you have a breastplate that could absorb, you know, like slicing damage or something like that, you know, make you resistant to slashing damage, right? Even if you're immune to it, so you've got like iron skin underneath that breastplate will still absorb that initial damage before the residual would get to you to then be you immunized from it. So I would say any type of it can still, like, that can still work, is what I would say. Because like I say, it doesn't, the being immune doesn't stop the enemy from doing the damage. It stops the damage from hurting you. So that damage is still being done, right? Like, suppose I had a fireproof piece of cloth and I held a match up to it, right? That match is still on that cloth. That fire is still being done. It just doesn't impact the cloth, right? Or like I say, if you have a steel plate that's immune to bludgeoning damage, right? The hammer still hits the plate. It's just that it doesn't do anything to it. You know, so that's what that's how I kind of land on it. That's what my decree would be. But I mean, I think it is a perfectly debatable thing. And also, I think it's a game of made-up stuff. So whatever you want to do, as long as everyone at the table is in agreement with it, then great. Who cares? It's fun. Wasn't the source you want to be? Oh, you're way back on talking about the two neutral. Portal Artificer, you want to be two neutral. Just a guy who just makes things and doesn't care how they get used. It's kind of like the Tony Stark approach, right? He just invents things, doesn't care how they get used. Two neutral. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit. I want to work on our campaign a little bit. Let me pull up. What are we? We need to go to our atlas here, and we are continuing to work on our next stage here. I think what I'm gonna do, just because I know we got some new people to the project here. Let me open up some of my maps and stuff, and we'll give just a quick old fast, rough and dirty rundown of kind of what the campaign we're working on here is, just so that way we kind of have at least a vague understanding of what we're working on here. We need to open up Minadala. We need to open up... No. We need to open up Zaoria. We want to open up U5. I think that's all that we need at the moment. I think that's what we need at this exact moment in time. Yeah, I think that'll do. Great. So we are working on a homebrew campaign meant for, let's see here, what are all these things? Why is it? It's one thing that's weird about this. It kind of gets frozen on the lower, or on the loading screens and stuff. Nice. Working on holidays. I like it. Working on cultural stuff. That's fun stuff. I dig it. So yeah, we're gonna switch over to the campaign that I'm working on here. And just to give a quick rundown, this is my world. This is Zaoria. My world. It's been slowly being built up for well over a decade of my life at this point in time. And this world is a post-apocalyptic world, fantasy world. There was an event called the Unhinging that kind of caused everything to go psycho cuckoo within the world. Basically, just the quick, rough, and dirty way to describe it. Imagine all of the different realms being like layers of different density fluids that are all in a jar, right? Like you can think about the old elementary school science experiment where you've got like the oil and water and stuff, and they kind of create these separate layers. So they're all kind of part of the same existence, but in separate layers. That's what all the different like mortal realm, ethereal realms, elemental planes, all that kind of stuff. They all exist, but they're all kind of in these separate layers. Keeps everything kind of in order, and that's just what it is. The unhinging is like if someone took that jar, that experiment, and just shook it up so that everything is all mixed around. There's different tears in reality. Things, monsters got displaced and all that kind of stuff. No one really knows why it happened, but that's what happened. And it caused the world to be a wildly dangerous and uninhabitable place. As a result, most sentient life basically retreated to one of just a handful of cities that were large enough and had enough resources to fortify against this now incredibly dangerous world. And the rest of the world was left to just sort of become the wilds. We are now a couple thousand years after that took place. The different layers are starting to kind of percolate and separate into their layers again. So the world's a bit more safe, but not exactly safe now, which means that we're seeing a lot more sort of excursions back into the wilds to, in various ways, try and reclaim a world that was lost. And that's kind of the state of the world that Zeoria is in. And that's the state of the world that I kind of put all my players in. Really great. Offers a lot of convenient reasons for them to go into a bunch of dangerous territories, right? Because there's all kinds of different reasons people might go there. They might just be thieves trying to loot things. They might be looking for family heirlooms that were lost in the event. They might be looking to help reclaim areas. All kinds of different reasons to have fun, exciting campaigns and stuff like that there. And the other thing that I like about it is it really offers up the opportunity for sort of like lost, abandoned civilization type of settings. I love like old, ancient, abandoned cities and stuff like that, where there's still just like old, forgotten treasures to find. I love that kind of setting, and this world is just full of them. So really, I'm just servicing my own interests. But hey, you know, it's my world. I can do what I want. I do what I want. So that's kind of the world as it is. This campaign takes place within this hex right here. It's a fun area because it's got a bunch of different terrains. We've got mountains, we've got grasslands, we got forest, got all kinds of fun different areas for our players to sort of explore and adventure in. And that brings us to our next map, which is the region map here. Q5, that's just like the alphabetical coordinates of the hexes, right? It's like Q and then 5 down, whatever. So that's the region. This is the region that we've got so far. The basic premise, actually, I'll bring us back to Zeoria. The basic premise of this campaign, or at least where it starts, is our players are they start off as part of this, part of an effort to build a new trade route that goes from this city of Phosphik up here down to this city of Muffafetting. You can see the only existing trade routes that are really usable and protected are this one. It's basically one major trade route that just kind of connects all the cities, and you kind of just have to work with that. They want to kind of cut some of that out so they can expand their trading opportunities, make it a bit easier to continue to grow and rebuild the world. So they're trying to map out a somewhat safe trade route that will go from this city to this city. And our players, like, that's kind of where they start. They start off as part of that effort. So we bring ourselves back here. You can see this is how far the effort has made it. But unfortunately, it turns out that a dragon has sort of taken up residence in the Golden Wind Plains down here. And he's not super duper stoked about a bunch of humanoids coming in and trying to reclaim his land. Now, it's his turf. He's not super stoked about them being there. So he comes down and says, "Oi, get out of here." And of course, the people that are part of this are gonna be like, "Please, we just wanna like, you know, trade and stuff. Can we cut a deal with you or something?" And the dragon will say like, "Okay, well, you asked nicely. So there's this place called the Hall of Wisdom. I really want to get in there. There's something in there that I really want. So if you can get me in there, you know, it's locked up by a bunch of magical keys. I don't have time to go search for the keys. If you go find those keys for me so that I can get in here and have what's in there, I will let you go ahead and make this trade route, and that's fine." So our players, being good, agreeable players, will accept the call to adventure, and they will go on a key hunt. First key, after doing some research, is among the mountaintops, among the giants. So our players got to go exploring in the giant area to try and find the first key up there. They find that eventually. They'll come back down to the main city. This is sort of like a temporary city that's been built to help make it so that, like, when they need to resupply the I don't know, the party that goes out, the search. It's not a search party. You know what I'm trying to say. Rather than having to go all the way back up, they can just kind of go back there. So our players will go back there, continue to do a little bit more research. They'll find the next key is in the ancient abandoned dwarven city of Cogdaral down there. They go down there, find some Duragar, as happens from time to time. Get the second key, go back, do more research. They find the third key is in the abandoned elven city up here of Ashran Nalor. Unfortunately, to get there, you either have to go back through giant territory or navigate your own way through uncharted parts of the mountains. Neither of those are particularly great options. So our players will then, be told like, hey, there used to be this one city of Minadala down here. It's presumably a ghost town, as every town in the wilds are these days. But there used to be a teleportation circle that was kind of like the highway between Ashran Nalor up here and the plains here. It was like the fast way to get across there. Maybe you should go check and see if there's still a teleportation circle. Of course, that's going to sound like a wonderful idea, so our players are going to go do that. Or if not, then they get to just like go through and deal with all kinds of dangerous crap in the mountains. It's up to them, really. They can make the adventure whatever they want. But assuming they accept the call to adventure to go down to this city, that's what we're working on writing now. We have the city of Minadala. They'll go down there. It is a ghost city, except for one soul. Well, it's a ghost city except for a bunch of wildlife that's kind of moved in there, a bunch of savanna wildlife. So they're encountering like elephants and rhinos and all that kind of stuff. It's great fun. It's real great fun. But they do also find that there is a singular wizard who still lives there. And what they don't know about this wizard is that he's got kind of a tragic story. He was a citizen of this city. When the city was besieged upon by all kinds of horrible monsters during the unhinging, everyone fled, but the wizard vowed to stay. He's like, here, I'll stay and protect the city, so that way you guys have a home to come back to once all of this is blown over, right? They didn't understand that it was going to be going on for thousands and thousands of years. They just, who would have known? And so he's been using magical means to keep himself alive, so that he can, keep his promise of protecting the city. Which is really tragic because, like, he basically his history is as time went on, he continued to have a mental break, because even though logically he knows that none of the people he was trying to keep this alive for, or keep the city safe for, are alive, that was all he had. So he just kind of keeps clinging on to it rather than admitting that he spent his entire life fighting for absolutely nothing. And it's kind of this tragic thing, and our players kind of can slowly start to learn that about this character. But ultimately, the important thing is they find that the teleportation circle has been destroyed, but he has the ability to fix it up for them. So, they're going to basically go through the city and find resources for him so that he can rebuild the teleportation circle and send them on their way to Ashran Nalor. So that's kind of what we're working on here. We have made a handful of the settings. We've got a few more to make, though. And last time we had started... Last time we had kind of determined, let's see here, let me load up the specific map we're working on, the like mini dungeon that they're going to be in right now. This is, what did I call this one? Part 2. The parts don't actually line up with how I ended up mapping them out. I should retitle all of them. Yeah, this is the one we're working on. So a couple of the items that they need to find are going to be accessible and findable within a specific temple, right? So they need some like magical things, including like holy water or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. Hold on. I got it written down. In here somewhere. It's like way at the top of this section here. Whoop. Up we go. They need to find holy icon and holy water. Those are the two things that they need to find. And I want to make it so that they have to go back to the church or the temple or whatever you want to call it multiple times. Because what I'm trying to do is create a situation here where them interacting with this NPC here, like, they're only going to get that, like, satisfying reward of understanding his tragedy. They're only going to get that if they do some, like, research. On the surface, I kind of want him to be, like, crazy and really annoying, right? So it's like, he basically, like, yanks their chain for, like, 6 days because, like, they'll arrive there and he'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I can fix that for you. Here, I need this. If you can go to the city and do that, I've got other work that I got to do. If you go to the city and get that for me, then we're gonna be good. So they'll go to the city, get that one item, and then come back, and he'll be like, great, that's awesome, that's perfect. Now I need one of these things. Go get it. And they'll just kind of like, he's gonna keep doing that. So it's like, he's gonna seem really irritating, and I want to try and do that as just like, you know, it's kind of like a subtle test to get the players, or see if the players will you know, well, really just see what kind of patience they have is kind of what I want to go for here. And just like make this character that on the surface is really irritating, but if they are patient and they take the time to learn about him and kind of read the like hidden bits of lore and everything that I can present to them, you know, then they can start to kind of learn about this character and see him as like sort of the tragic character that he was. Or they don't learn that and it's really funny, and I could just kind of sit here pompously understanding that they're jerks and they never understood what was really going on. So that's what we're trying to set up here. But what I want to do is try and set up a system with this dungeon here that different parts of it will be accessible at different times when they come back. And that's kind of tricky to do because it's just a single temple. Now there's nothing changing what doors are accessible, right? The only thing that might change is, like, we could just have it be as is and just assume that if they're not looking for everything, right, then if there's everything, like if they're not looking for something, then they just won't grab it and they won't find it. But I want it to feel like it's kind of two separate dungeons, even though it's the same thing. And so I think, let me go back down to what we figured out last time, because we kind of determined what room is going to have what stuff in it. And so we had rooms 8, 10, 11, 12, and 13 were locked up. So we have, where is it? Let's see if we can close that. That's just a blank tab. 8, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So all of these rooms are locked. That's what I was going to do. How was that going to be? 10, 11, 12, 13. And I know one of the items is going to be a holy icon of sorts, and the other one was going to be holy water. So what I'm thinking, I think I might want to change a couple things, just rearrange a few things, because I'm just trying to think about how this works. First off, one of the things I'm thinking, Okay, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if we make it so that the first time going there is the time when they're going to get the holy symbol, or no, the holy water, right? They need to get some sort of holy water for it. We can just have there be like a basin of holy water, like a baptism thing or something like that going on. There's like a baptismal tub. Yeah, like it's holy water. It's blessed. So like even though it's been thousands of years, the water is still pure and fresh. It's holy water. And it's there and it's waiting for them. So it's like you almost give them this easy one that if they choose to not explore around them, that's great. Right? That's totally fine. And because then what I'm thinking, because I remember thinking it, because then what you could do afterwards is then like when they get back, you just kind of have a scripted event where there's like a big storm that happens and like this huge storm ends up knocking out a wall or something like that, making these rooms that were locked up suddenly accessible. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to change it so that instead of having 8 and 12 be locked up, maybe those ones are open and have 10, 11, 13, 15 locked. And then, well, I think either way, I think the holy water is going to be good for the first visit. Because this is going to be there and simple, right? And so if they decide to explore everywhere else, you know, then great. Or if they just go in, grab what they wanted, and leave, you know, they could very easily miss a lot of stuff, right? They could very easily miss and not even be aware of other stuff they miss. Because then they can go up there and have it be accessible, right? Because like I'm thinking if it knocks out a wall up like back here, this back wall or something like that, then suddenly these rooms become accessible even though the doors are still locked, and then these have connecting doors which make these locked, And then you have just like inside one of these things is like some sort of holy icon or holy symbol or something like that that's there as part of like a shrine in a prayer room or something like that, is what I'm thinking. And so it's like, and that could change the accessibility. Maybe it makes it so that these are inaccessible, and that like the second time, right, like the first time they went to get the holy water and they got it, but then this wall is knocked out, so the holy water's been spilled all over. So it's like the ground is very blessed. It's very blessed ground, but they can't utilize it. They can't utilize that holy water anymore. So that makes it so it's like, you know, it kind of makes it so that like, there's a lot of like convenient writing going on with that, where it's just like, because it's clearly scripted after they get the holy water or something like that. So it's a little perfect, but hey, you know, sometimes that's how you make a fun game, right? You have things be a little scripted. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah, I think I am going to keep that. So I guess I'm going to change my mind about changing my mind. And we'll leave it so that these rooms are the ones that are inaccessible, just because these ones have been locked up. These ones were locked up. It's like, because I can see it, you know, I can see the logic where like thousands of years ago, they left the temple itself unlocked. So if there was anyone who stayed behind, including the wizard, who needed a place of refuge and a place to pray, right? Like a place that was blessed and watched over by the gods, they could still go there, but they locked up the place with all the important like artifacts and stuff. So these doors are all locked up. But then if the wall gets busted out, because the other thing that's fun about it too, that I always like to do with these, is make it so that these doors are locked. So like on the surface, they just can't get in there. I'm still going to flesh them out, so that like for this first part, I'm still going to flesh them out and have the notes ready to go. So that way, if they decide they really want to brute force their way in, they can. They just won't know what they're looking for. You know, they won't know what they're looking for. So if they decide to go full klepto and steal everything that isn't bolted to the ground, then they could cut some time out. But I think there'd be something kind of fun about just like casually describing, you know, maybe room 13 is where we put the icon that they're looking for. You know, we put that in there, and they you know, and so they can go in there and see, and you can describe, yeah, you see a room, there's a lot of like various holy icons and all that kind of stuff scattered around this room. And then if they're just like, oh yeah, that's not interesting, that's not anything we need, and they decide to just go ahead and leave, then it's like, then when they have to go back and they see it, they can be like, so close, we're almost there, we almost had it, you know. And it's like you can kind of set it up, you know, so they can still do that. Or even alternatively, if they're like, okay, yeah, we scoop it all in a bag, and then the next day he's like, yeah, I need a holy icon from you, they can be like, oh, you mean like this? And they've like saved themselves some time, right? So that's how you can kind of, even though we've got these scripted events, make it so that there's still sort of that sandboxy open world nature to it, right? It's a good way to sort of just be prepared for however they choose to approach things. So I think that's good. The only thing that I'm wondering... Nope, I like it that way. I think that's good. So this is going to be the first one. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to our layer level settings. Here's what we can do to kind of make this a bit easier. We're going to create a new level. We're going to call this one... so this level actually, so we're going to rename this. We're going to say this, call this Visit 2. And we want to clone, we're going to rename ground as well. So we're going to do that. I'm going to rename this just to make it a bit more clear what's going on. We're going to say Visit 1. Okay, so Visit 1. So now this is just a way to sort of make it, actually, you know what? You know what? I changed my mind. We're going to do this later. Yeah, we can get rid of that. We're going to do it later. We're going to do it after we decorate everything, just to save ourselves time. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone the level, right? And then I'm just going to change the walls a little bit and rearrange some of the furniture in these rooms. So that way, again, if our players on that first visit want to just brute force their way into these rooms, they can, and it's all prepared. And then the second time, we'll have things be a little different. And really what we're doing also is we're saving ourselves some time in creating it, so that way I don't have to try and remake everything exactly right. Like I don't have to replace everything in the exact right place for the sake of consistency. I can just copy and paste it and then move things, and that'll help it kind of almost look a bit more believable in a lot of ways too, I feel, if you kind of do it that way.
So I think that's how I want to do it. I think that's great. So yeah, we'll write up everything, design or decorate this level, and then we'll clone it and make the changes for the other one. Because that's the other thing too. Once we've written up a lot of these rooms, some of the rooms will change, right? Like these rooms will probably be destroyed if we're gonna blow out this back wall in like a storm. We'll put like a thunder or a lightning strike, something there, right? It's a stone building, so we don't have to worry about it burning down. But the concussive nature of it just like blew out a wall. Not exactly how lightning works, but we're gonna go ahead and take the movie magic approach and just like let it be conveniently exactly what we need. Because it's fantasy. I don't know. Maybe it's magic lightning that's extra damaging and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. We can do whatever we want. We can really just do whatever we want. And that's one of my favorite things about being a DM is it really just feeds into my ego and lets me power trip all over the place. So what an adversarial take to have on it. I just like it because I like having the power. So that's good. I think that's good. I think we got our plan. So as you can see, we've kind of already figured out, or like we've already kind of rolled. I always like to roll. Unless I have like specific stuff, like I know, yeah, room 3 was gonna have the quest item there, right? That's where the water was gonna be, the holy water was gonna be. So I kind of like, there are some rooms that'll have like predetermined what's gonna go in there, but for the most part, I like to randomly determine it from a list of elements that I like to make sure each mini dungeon has, for the sake of having it be a fun, interesting adventure. So it's like all of them have certain number of battles that could possibly happen that are set at different difficulty levels, right? There's some easy battles all the way up to some difficult battles. I always plant one trap and one puzzle. Trap and puzzle, very loose terms. But just so that way there's like challenges that aren't, you know, overcomable through slashing things to bits. So I like to do that. You know, and then also the rewards. Sometimes there's money, sometimes there's bits of lore, sometimes there's, you know, all kinds of different things. And so I just like to determine it. I like to determine it randomly. One, so that way I don't consistently fall into the same tropes. Like it'd be really easy to always have the boss be hiding the quest item, but I feel like that's like, if we're talking about like, oh, that's convenient, side eye, right? You know, if we're like kind of looking at that, I don't like it. So I don't like to have it so that like you always have to face the boss of the dungeon to get the item, right? It seems a little too video game mechanic to always have the boss there. If we want to try and create a living world, we have the boss present, and the boss can be, you know, encounterable at really any time in the dungeon. Not necessarily any time in the dungeon, but you understand what I'm saying. Like you can have it be encounterable separate from finding what you came for, you know? And that'll help things feel a bit more organic in a lot of ways, because like sometimes it'll make perfect sense for the boss to be guarding it, right? Like if you're trying to steal a powerful item from an evil mage, then yes, the boss is going to be there protecting this item, because he'll know, because like by standard storytelling tropes, he's going to know what you're there for and all that jazz, right? And so, but then other times, like in this one, I'm putting the boss battle there, just because the quest item is so easily accessible. I don't want them to be able to just like, oh yeah, we walked in, we didn't even see anything, we grabbed it and walked out. It's like, it is kind of still meant to be a mini dungeon, so it's like at least make them face the boss, right? But yeah, sometimes like in this one, the enemies are just a bunch of giant wild lizards that kind of moved in because there's good shelter inside the thing. The big boss bad man lizard, that's the biggest one there, has no reason to care about guarding holy water. He just happens to be there because it's the biggest room he fits in there, the easiest, you know. And so it's like, yeah, exactly. Things move whether the players are looking at them. Yes, like I design, because I come at this from a world builder's perspective before coming at it from a DM's perspective. My thought is always on, if the players never came here at all, what is going on here? Like, what is up with this place, assuming our players never even were born, right? What was going on here? And in this world, in this part of the world, what was going on here is, it's a temple that a big pack of lizards kind of moved in, and they just use this as their home because there's good shelter. That's it. That's all that's going on. There's nothing remarkable or outlandish or special about it.
That's just what it is, right? So we got all these different like lizards and stuff. And in the second one, in the second time actually, okay, so this will be interesting. I'll have to figure out how to resolve this because it's already pre-planned. The second time when they visit, there's going to be all kinds of like plant-based monsters. So maybe we can actually use that. So maybe rather than a lightning strike, maybe like some sentient plants like overgrew, and maybe we can offer like a hint about it where it's like, oh yeah, you see what looks like to be some very rapidly growing vines on one of the neighboring buildings. And you kind of tease them with that, and you can just kind of yes and it if they decide they want to go explore it then and there, and just say like, yeah, no, these plants look like they're going to try and strangle you. And then when they come back, it's like, oh, it looks like they spread. They've broken out that back wall, but there's a bunch of living plants that have taken up the home in here. There's a bunch of like lizard skeletons that it looks like these carnivorous plants have eaten them, right? So you just kind of like create this world where things happen regardless of if your players are triggering them, right? And that kind of plays into, is the boss battle someone that's directly guarding the item or not? And in this situation, nah. The item never had a guardian in the first place. It just so happened that a bunch of lizards moved in there, and you got to deal with that problem. And that's kind of what the theme of this whole part of the campaign is. There's just wildlife that lives here. And so it's kind of a good fun test for the players to be like, how are you going to approach trying to get things from wild animals? You have to deal with packs of elephants and packs of rhinos and big packs of giant lizards, right? Like, how are you going to deal with these things that are just trying to live and don't want you on their territory? You know, are you going to go ahead and murder hobo it up? There's baby elephants among those elephants. You comfortable with killing a baby elephant? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, great. There you go. Problem solved. It's fiction. You can do whatever you want. You know, if you want to be a jerk in fiction, that's fine. Just don't let it happen in real life. You know, so it's like, but the point is, this is a world that exists regardless of if our players make it exist. That's how I like to try and design things, which is why I plan things out and write these really extensive campaigns well before running it for my players. I don't do the whole, okay, I'm going to prepare for the next session based on what happened in the last session. And I'm not saying that that's not a legitimate approach to doing it. If that's how you like to run your games, then do it that way. But for me, I like to plan out and understand what is going on in this world, regardless of if our players are interacting. And I find that by doing that, it makes it much, much easier to create a world that feels real to the players, right? It feels much more like a world that doesn't revolve around them. They are just actors within this world. And I find that when you do that, it actually oftentimes makes an adventure feel bigger and more grand, because you are people that are like, because it turns the players into adventurers that are now bending the existence of reality around them rather than the reality just doing that for them, right? Makes them feel less like they have plot armor. It makes them feel less like everything is just so perfectly right or wrong all the time, right? It just turns it into this thing of being adventurers in an existing world. And that's what the point of an adventure is, right? Like, rock climbing wouldn't be fun for me if I went into it always knowing exactly that there would always be the exact right handhold that I need at any given time, right? Rock climbing, that's not what makes rock climbing fun. What makes rock climbing fun is that you don't know what's going to be there, and you are trying to figure out how to get up that wall based on the resources provided you, right? Same with why I love kickboxing. I don't go into kickboxing knowing exactly how every move is going to go. You go into a fight trying to figure out and understand, okay, based on the tools that I have and the challenges presented to me, how do I figure out how to overcome this, right? And that's what makes the adventures here fun. So, I don't know. Thanks for tolerating me on my soapbox there, but that's my approach to things. That's how I like to do things. And so with all that said, we've kind of got, you know, that kind of plays into why I like to randomly assign dangers and rewards to rooms, just because then it makes it so that it's not me just falling into the same tropes. It's just like, that's how it was laid out. And the other thing that's fun about it too is it does make it a fun creative writing exercise, because then suddenly I have to think like, okay, why would there be, you know, what would be the puzzle here? Why would there be a puzzle in this room? So like room 1, there's a puzzle and there's some money there. I think it's going to be pretty easy to figure out exactly what this quote unquote puzzle is going to be. In room 1, I think there's going to be just basically a collections box, right? Like churches will collect their tithings, right? And so it's like you know, maybe there's just a box that's locked up, and the puzzle is trying to figure out where the key is for that or something, or just unlocking it. the way I think about puzzles and traps, I use them very loosely. A puzzle is something that players can choose to approach. Like, a puzzle is a challenge that players can choose to overcome for the sake of a reward. And a trap is a puzzle, is like a challenge that players must overcome to avoid something bad happening. That's basically how I describe those two. So that way I don't fall into the trope of just doing like, there's another spike pit trap. I don't know why it's in a church, but the floor is lava spikes now or whatever. It's like, nah, that's ridiculous. But what is something that could harm a player on accident, a person on accident in a church, right? A trap can be as simple as like, oh yeah, look at that pillar, looks like it's really, really flimsy, and that the roof could come collapsing down on you if you get too close to it, and it's like, oh, but the thing you need is right next to it. Can you handle that? And so then, that's what is the trap, right? They have to, it's kind of a puzzle, but it's also kind of a trap. So I use the definitions very loosely. I understand the pain. I understand the pain of having to get ready for a day job. We all got bills to pay. I totally respect it. And I thank you for stopping by at all. I appreciate that you're here, and I appreciate that you had a good time. Hopefully work goes smoothly for you, because we all deserve to not be stressed out from work. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works, but I wish the best for you, my friend. All right, let's see. So room 1 is going to have the puzzle. Yeah, I think we're just going to put our Tithings box in there. And I guess the way I'm going to do this is we're going to say, so room 1, puzzle is, so we'll just, the way I format things, puzzle. Then I always give like my description of, I always like to put like a narrative thing that I could read out loud. And like I always say, it's basically just giving myself insurance. So that way, if my brain isn't creatively coming up with words on the night that I'm running this area at the time, I can just read it off, and I can at least provide something to my players, even if my brain's like, yeah, we're not really going to do the whole improv thing today. That's just not where we're at today. That way I've got at least something to fall back on. So what we'll say here is, entering this room, you see that it is currently mostly being used to store various extra seats and cushions, likely for if ever a crowd was too large for the existing benches during a service. Yeah, and I mean, like, that, it can be as simple as that. There's not really a whole lot else that we need here. But what I'm going to do now is, so whenever I put a DM note, like a note that's just for me as a DM, I put it in a different color, so that way I can see that color and think to myself, like, oh, don't read this part out loud. This is just for me. Handle this. And I always put it kind of in order of what of how things would pan out, right? So we just describe the room first, because as soon as our players open the door, we'll offer them that information that's there. Now we're going to do a DM note, because I'm going to make it so that the Tithings box is kind of hard to notice. So I'm going to say DC. I don't want it to be too hard to notice, but I want them to like actually have to like look for it. So we'll say DC 12 to find the Tithings box tucked in a corner. In the corner of the room, you happen to notice a small box sitting alone and covered in dust. Now what we could do to turn this into a puzzle, I mean, honestly, if we just make it locked and then hide the key somewhere else around here, that can be a perfectly fine puzzle, to be perfectly honest, right? You just make the DC high because it's a small, delicate lock or something like that. And so that's what turns it into a challenge. Not every puzzle needs to be a thinky riddle type of puzzle. So yeah, it's covered in dust. You try the lid and find it to be locked shut. A small keyhole on the front, the front suggests there may be a key around here somewhere. So, okay, here's what I'm thinking here. Oh, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. So room 15. We put the potions down. I'm also going to put potions and key for box in room 1. So we'll hide the key up there, because what my thought is room 15. Where's our map? What I've been thinking a lot is that room 15 right here is going to be like a little dormitory that was used by like the monks or the the priests or whoever would have taken care of this place. Like, it's just a little bunk room that has enough bunks for all of the monks. Monk bunks. It's got monk bunks in it. So stupid. They've got the bunks in there so that like all of the monks can have a place to sleep. And then in one of those, like maybe right over here is like Captain Head Honcho Monk. He gets his own little alcove. Maybe there's like a curtain that exists there or something. And like by his bed, there's like a key ring or something like that. They can find the key, or maybe in the drawer there's a key to the Tithings box, right? Because there's not gonna be, because I don't want there to be keys for this door. And if I say there's a key ring, it's gonna feel really weird if none of the keys on the key ring work on these ones. It's gonna be like, well, then what the hell do those keys go to? So we'll just put like a singular key. But I'm thinking if we tuck that in there, that's fun, because the challenge of the puzzle is either lockpick it or figure out where the key is hidden. And if we just hide it elsewhere in there without like really hiding it, then that's fine. So what we'll say here is I'm going to do a DM note. DC, I want to make it a bit more difficult. DC 14, to pick the lock. Alternatively, see room 15 for location of the key. Boom, there we go. That's perfect. Perfect, exactly like that. I like that. I think that's great. And we don't need to do any other descriptions there too, because the next thing we'll say money, and that's going to be if they open it. But we can kind of put that note in our next bullet point, which is where we're going to describe our money. A lot of the way I'm organizing this stuff too is for the sake of quick, easy visual access, so to speak. Right? So these are the notes that I run a campaign off of. So I try to make it really easy to visually identify things as I'm going, right? Like room 1, very easy to know, to see the room 1 there and to know that there's a puzzle and there's money in there. So immediately I know, like, okay, this is what I should prepare for. I don't need to prepare a battle, so I don't need to like pause and make sure all of the enemies are there right in place. I don't have to like think about that and juggle that with their moving around. You know, I can just kind of know like, oh, okay, there's no enemies, we're good to go there. And then the money is like, again, it's like, okay, I know the reward is going to be that rather than anything else. And so it's just like, it makes it really quick. Plus, the other thing too is then it can be like, okay, they've opened it up and found the money. I need to find where I wrote that. Rather than having it just be one big indistinct paragraph without that I have to read through multiple times, I can see like, oh, okay, there's the money. That's how I know how much money is going to be in there. Great. Simple as that. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And so let's see, our toughest enemy here is a challenge rating 4, looks like. Yep, toughest enemy is a challenge rating 4, so that's just going to inform us how much money we give them. Because I always have the treasure loot based on the boss of whatever dungeon they're in, right? So they're in this church dungeon. The boss is a challenge rating 4, so they get a challenge rating for level reward here. So we'll go ahead and say money. As you bust open the collections box, you can see that the temple caretakers must not have had time to properly stow away the donations from the last service. A small fortune of... Actually, I want to change this. A large number... there it is. Of small denominational coins fills this box. Right, so it's like my idea, like, I always just give my player the money in gold, but I do like the flavor text of saying it's like, yeah, you find, here's how much gold it is, and because, like, we just do that for the sake of convenience. If you're playing hardcore gritty rules, like doing weight management and stuff like that of your pack, you need to pay attention to how many of the different types of coins you have. I don't do that. My group doesn't care to have that much that much detail into it. That's just what we do. So I will give it to them in gold, but I like the image of they open this box and it's like, yeah, you found a box that's got like 8,000 copper coins. What are you gonna do with all that, dummy? What are you gonna do with all those pennies? Hey, Gabby, good to see you again. I just like that image. It just amuses me. But yeah, we'll just give it to him in gold. So we're just gonna go up here. We're gonna go to one of my favorite tools here. Loot Gen 5e tools, auto complete because I use it all the time. I love this thing because it just uses, it takes it from the Dungeon Master's Guide, rules as written. It just automatically rolls those tables for you, so you don't have to sit there and roll 18 dice for a single treasure hoard. I love it. Trek Treasure Hoard, challenge rating 0 to 4. Our toughest enemy is a 4, so we're going to stick with this low level one. It's fine, it's perfect. Roll that loot. Now, it's given us a whole crap ton of magic items. I'm not putting any of those in there. Not going to happen. And then because it's a tithings box, I am going to as well do 215 plus the 150 gold for all of the art objects. I'm not going to goof around with like, someone donated an original Picasso. Like, it's like, no, that's dumb. That's weird. Why would anyone do it? Well, you know, I'm not going to actually ask questions like that. People do a lot of weird things for church, but you understand what I'm saying. They typically don't they don't donate fine art. That's even a little much for most churchgoers. So, sorry, I'm getting controversial and adversarial. I don't mean to disparage anyone's religion. If religion is meaningful to you, then I'm glad you have it. I just, you know, do like the idea of people trying to donate to a church with art and the church going to be like, we can't buy bread for the needy with a Van Gogh, dude. I don't care that it's your grandma's lock. I don't want to have to go to the pawn shop, or your grandma's locket. I don't want to have to go to the pawn shop just to be able to buy the ingredients to bake bread for the poor and destitute. Come on. All right, anyway. So yeah, we're just going to say there's 365 gold in there just to make it easy. A little convenient, but honestly. 365 GP. We'll say mostly in copper and silver, but let the players just have it as gold. Just let them have it as gold. Just give it to them. Just give that to them. Fine. It's fine. But yeah, that's simple as that. Simple as that. We got a room. That's perfect. Let's see. We're gonna keep going. We still got plenty of time to stream, but I need to visit the Wiz Palace again. So I'm gonna run and do that real quick. I'll be right back. I appreciate your patience. refreshing. Much, much better. Thank you for your patience. As always, I appreciate it. I appreciate it quite a bit. One of these days, I'll absolutely lose my mind. I'll go crazy, and I'll go out with a bang by letting y'all come with me to the bathroom. I actually was thinking about it. I had an idea that I thought would be kind of funny. If I ever do make affiliate and suddenly have to come up with ideas on how on earth I give extra value to people who want to subscribe, right? Because like I would feel like such a jerk if it's like, yeah, you subscribe and like there's nothing special other than like no ads. Like, I want to do something special. The thought that I had is I'll put an extra cam and somehow hook it up to my computer, and we'll call it WizCam, and it'll just be really awkward. What we'll do is like it's not going to show anything graphic, but it'll be there in the bathroom. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it above the toilet right at eye level. So that way I can just make uncomfortable eye contact with all of you guys when I go to the bathroom. And like that can be the subscriber bonus. You know, you can get that extra personal touch of being able to join me in the crapper when I take my bathroom breaks. And it's like subscribe for silent, awkward eye contact. And that'll be it. I think people will go for it. I think it's a flawless plan. And I think if you don't go for it, I'll be very insulted and offended by the fact that you don't care about me. So I know that every single word that just came out of my mouth is horrible. What a horrible way to approach things. I feel like it would be funny for the novelty of it like twice, and then after it'd be like, dude, we don't want to watch you pee. No one is interested in that. That's not true. You know there's some people interested, but as I always say, that's a different stream service. I think that really flies in the face of Twitch's, you know, licensing agreements and stuff. I feel like I would not be able to do that for very long without ramifications. Like that's the thing of it. But hey, you know what? If you want it, like, comment, and subscribe. Or whatever. That's the YouTube stuff. I don't know. What do you do for Twitch? I don't know. How obvious is it that I have no idea what the hell I'm doing here? I don't even know how Twitch works. All I know is if I load up OBS, click start streaming, and do stuff, sometimes people like it. And that's the extent of my knowledge of what I'm doing. And I'll let you in on a little secret. My knowledge of the other things I do in my life doesn't really become any more expert than that. Kickboxing, I'm a kickboxing instructor. I teach beginners kickboxing. And my extensive knowledge of kickboxing is if you hit them harder than they hit you, you might win the fight. Like that's it. I don't know what I'm doing. That's not true. I know a little bit about what I'm doing. But it's not funny when I have a measured normal person take on my own skills. See, if you want to be entertaining, your pro tip for anyone who wants to be entertaining on stream and stuff like that, you have two approaches. You can either play up the self-deprecation and act like you're garbage at what you do, or you can go full hubris and pretend like you're the best person in the world. The trick is to be so exaggerated about it that it's clear you're being sarcastic and you don't believe what you're doing, and then that brings everyone else in so that they're part of a joke. See, I'm giving away the trade secrets here, so, you know, get a pen and paper and write that down. Write that down. Clearly, I'm the expert about it. See, I'm doing it right there. See, I'm scoffing at the hubris. So the fake hubris is clearly the joke, right? But like I'm scoffing at it so that everyone else knows that I know it's a joke, and that's me drawing you into the joke so we can all have a laugh together about what an amateur I am. But see, now there I just did the flip side of it where I just like really downplayed my own stuff and did the self-deprecation right there. So now you don't know where I'm coming from, and no one knows what the hell is going on anymore. Not even me. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Design an easy battle, shall we? Sorry. I'm back to the real world here. I'm back among the living. I blacked out for a second there. Started rambling on about nonsense. I don't know if I said anything about aliens, and the second coming of Christ together. I apologize. It's some place that my brain goes to sometimes, and I just can't. just was an alien, right? Like, how else did he survive all that? Whatever. We're gonna leave it. Easy battle. All right, we need an easy battle here. What's gonna be an easy battle? Easy battle in this one. 650 XP. We gotta come up with 650 XP. Oh, we can do two constrictor snakes and a jaculi. I don't even remember what the frickin' jaculi is. Hold on, let me see here. Indie Beyond. Wonderful tool. I know it's hit or miss whether people like the digital tools of D&D Beyond, but let me tell you, for streaming stuff, D&D Beyond is an amazing tool. Like, oh boy, everything rules as written is right there for me to be able to freaking show all you guys. This is great. Jaculi, what are you? What the heck was this thing? I don't even remember what it was. Multi-headed snake, I guess. Oh, it's just like it's a large beast. Jaculi, pronounced Jaculi, is 15-foot long snake that can alter the color and texture of its scales to camouflage itself, altering its appearance to resemble wood or stone. What a good enemy choice. Boy, oh boy. You know what? Past me was really onto something there, wasn't he? Boy, oh boy. I oughta have a bit more faith in Past Me, because apparently he comes up with a good idea from time to time. I barely trust Present Me, which means, boy, it's hard to trust Past Me, but boy, that's a great enemy. That's good job, me. Good job, me. I did it. I really did a thing there, didn't I? All right, we'll do one big constrictor snake. Yeah, for this one we'll do one big constrictor snake, and two jaculi sitting there. So 650 XP, 650 zip. And our enemies are gonna be two of the jaculi. I'm not gonna be able to say that title, in a normal voice ever again. Now that I've taken the time to phonetically sound it out and understand the way they had the pronunciation there, that's what it's gonna be forever in my brain. And then a giant constrictor snake. That's right, we put a bunch of lizards and snakes and stuff in there. It's great. Is it realistic for all of these things to be living close together? Probably not. Am I gonna do it anyway? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I am. Great. So this is like a small room, and we're gonna put some lore in there as well. We'll say sorry, okay, I really zoned for a second there. I was trying to think about what lore item I was gonna put in there, but let's handle that in a second here. Looking into this room, you see a simple storage room. There seems to be a large number of extra candles. Candles. Used to be a large number of extra candles, and large candles, extra candles, incense. That's how. No. Sense. There it is. That's it. I had the C and the S mixed up. It confused me because like I always think of like whenever I see INC, I think of ink like incorporated. So I just always think inkents. Large number of extra candles, inkents, and candles. Actually, here's how I want to phrase this: candles and incense, various decorations for different holidays are tucked among the shelves here. You even see a stack of collection trays and goblets, likely used during services. Like I didn't really approach this thinking it was going to be a Catholic church that I'm designing, but it's kind of happening, isn't it? They got the tithings box, the collections box. They've got collection trays. They're gonna have like goblets and stuff for like the wine, like the communion and stuff. Man, my Catholic upbringing is showing. I don't consider myself a Catholic in any way, although I suppose many would say that I still count as Catholic because I was baptized. But I was raised in a Catholic household that like over the years became less and less Catholic as my family, like, just sort of, it kind of collectively happened, maybe all of us at different paces, but my entire family kind of started questioning, like, Catholicism and the Catholic Church's approaches to things, and everyone kind of stepped away from Catholicism, either to join another denomination that was more in line with their beliefs, or in the case of me, to become a godless heathen who is going to hell 17 times over, I'm assuming. I mean, I'm sitting here playing I'm not even just playing D&D. I am actively encouraging and assisting people in playing D&D. That's the devil's game. So I'm a disappointment to God. It happens. Heck, not every child is a winner, okay? Some of us are just disappointments, and to pretend like that's not true is just to deny human nature. But God gave me the freedom to be a little asshole. So here I am. I'm just using the gift God gave me. He's really only got himself to blame. And that's why I'm going to hell. This has been Damning Your Soul 101 with EnviroBoy. Tune in next week as we discuss the most effective way to murder someone. Alright, anyway. You even see a stack of collection trays and goblets likely used during services. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, DC, hold on. So I have like pre-prescribed challenge ratings for difficulties based on like what level the players are intended to be. So things might get kind of easy. I kind of trend them towards easy in case players rush through things and are under-leveled for things. And like a lot of that comes from wanting to make sure that I don't accidentally lock them out of progressing forward as they need to. So, but I like to keep things consistent, and I always just kind of have like an easy, medium, and difficult threshold in mind. So that way, also, if I have to think of something on the fly, I can basically just think like if a player's like, oh, I'd like to do this around here, and I don't have it like explicitly prepared, I can just be like, oh, okay, that's a reasonable request. That seems like something that would be pretty easy to do. So DC 11. Right, or they're like, I'd like to do this. It's like, ooh, that's going to be hard to do around here. Give me a 14. You know, I've kind of got these things right there. So that way it doesn't feel quite as arbitrary on how difficult I'm making things. But I do also always reserve the right to do something like, if someone's like, oh, I want to do this really impossible thing. It's like, okay, roll and get like, okay, I need you to roll twice and I need you to get 2 natural 20s. Like, that's what I am expecting out of you for this. If I'm going to let that happen, right? So I'll still, you know, do things like that as needed, but as a general rule, I like to have a value already in mind. You know, I like to kind of already know that stuff, so it feels less like I'm just like making it up and being unfair about it on accident. So, but yeah, I'm gonna say DC 11 to notice the constrictor snake. And we're going to do a little bit, and then it's going to be even more difficult to notice the Jakuli. So, perusing the shelves, you suddenly notice that what you thought was some sort of garland on one of them is actually a giant constrictor snake. And it seems to be eyeing you as though you are a very squeezable snack. Right? Because it's a constrictor snake. It's going to kill you first, and then it'll eat you. And then it'll unhinge its jaw. It'll kill you first, and then it'll unhinge its jaw. Just like my ex-wife. Wow. Really crappy, garbage, casually sexist jokes.
Those are the best ones, right? Oh boy. I believe there's actually people that would like not ironically make a joke like that. Like they would just like sit there and like that's what their humor is. That's what their humor is. Their humor is, boy, oh boy, isn't it horrible being married? It's like if that's true, like if that's all you talk about, why'd you do it? Like you can be not married. That's an option. Anyway, sorry, that's a different soapbox. The soapbox that starts drifting towards political, and I should probably avoid it. The Chakuli has advantage on dex checks made to hide. So what I'm gonna do is, for the sake of just like non-combat, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say just here, we'll just make it a DC 14 to notice the strange lumps, the strange lumps. No. Strange lumps. We'll say the strange lumps on the rafters above that are the Chakuli hanging down and getting ready to strike. Boom. And then we'll go ahead and describe. So if they do see that, you continue to look around and you notice what seemed to be wood patterned wood patterned ropes hanging from the rafters above. Much to your horror, though, they begin to move and you realize there it is, that you are actually looking at two camouflaged. Is that it? Camouflaged? Hold on, I want to figure this one out. Oh, okay, never mind. Fine. Okay, oh wait, is it M-O-U? M-O-U, that's where the U goes. I knew there was a U. I knew it. I knew that one was vowel heavy. Very, very vowel diverse. Let's see here. And you realize that you're actually looking at two camouflaged snake like figures. Remember at the very beginning when I said my fingers just were not working properly and typing was going to be tough? Yeah. Let it not be said that I don't uphold my promises. As promised, I am struggling to type things out right now. Oh boy. Oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, so I think that's perfect actually, because then they can just like go about the battle. And that's fine. So now I gotta figure out what kind of lore is gonna be around here that talks about this. You know what I kinda wanna do? So the basically what I've been trying to do with this area when it comes to the lore is I've been trying to have the lore-based items generally indicate to the players as they find the lore both what happened to the city and as well as what happened to Sis, our wizard. And I'm trying to figure out what kind of clues could be present around here, what kind of lore items could give a hint of that. And I kind of want to have maybe in here some hints that he was perhaps looking for guidance from the gods at one point in time, to maybe offer suggestions that he was struggling and wanted some sort of like divine intervention to help, to like kind of show him in crisis in some way. And so, like, the other thing too, yeah, I think that's perfect actually. Oh, you know what? You know what? Yeah, we could probably try and find a way to drop lore hints about the fact that Sis did, in a lot of ways, sort of damage his own psyche and his existence for the sake of immortalizing his soul, right? Because he's made himself virtually immortal. You know, he can't die of old age now because of the stuff he's done, which is kind of necromantic magic. And so it'd be kind of interesting if we could have some stuff here, like maybe there's some items that are missing along the lines of like, you know, things that one might use to save one's own soul, right? So just like various readings or things like that, like a book turned open to a certain page or something. Just to offer these subtle hints that maybe he was here looking for some sort of guidance at one stage in his life. Right, so if we're talking about a storage room, you know, I could say something like, so let's just get our format here. Lore. Wait, where am I? Oh, I'm on the wrong tab. Do that. Lore. There we go. So we got our lore. So like what we I don't know. As you let's do, I think these are going to be tough things to pick up on too. Like I feel like we can probably have the descriptions be a bit more on the nose to make the players understand why I'm saying these things. But if we make the challenge, make them hard to see or hard to find, right? Set our challenges to 14 or maybe even a little higher, so that it's hard to find these clues. That can kind of simulate that, like, it's hard to put two and two together, but those connections exist, and then I can offer those connections just kind of a bit more freely to the players, right? If that makes sense, because I don't want the cryptic nature of it to the characters to necessarily impact the players. Like, it's okay for the players to have more knowledge than the characters. Excuse me. So it's like if we can do if we can do something like that, I think that would work out really well. Yeah. So let's say DC 14, the 14 to notice what is missing from this, right? So it's like there's something missing here, and like it'd be hard for them to notice. As you look through the shelves, you find one of them with a collection of different you find one of them with a collection of different how do I want to do this? Because I was about to say icons, but that kind of gives us a bit of a problem. Wait, no it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. Collection of different icons, each labeled to represent a specific what am I trying to say? A specific trait or function of the church. PC updates. I feel that pain. I feel that because they always come at the most inconvenient times, don't they? Like you always sit down and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play this new game and updates. Yeah. Right? Or it's like, oh man, I've only got 10 minutes. I really got to take care of this thing before I leave to go to work or whatever. And you sit down and updates. Ugh. You know, for me, the one that like really gets me too is like, this happens on my work computer a lot, right? So like my work computer, the nature of my work a lot of times is that I just need to be available to respond to things as they come up. Like that's what kind of gives me the freedom to stream a lot. Is I, you know, as long as I can respond when things happen, then, you know, I've got a bit more freedom in my day to then schedule all of my other normal duties around, you know, doing the stuff that I like to do. Like I've got a lot of freedom in my schedule that way. So I still do a lot of work. I just do it at different times. But like what'll happen a lot of times too is without
Oh, see, just as I say that, my work phone is indeed ringing. So I am going to put all you on pause here. Enjoy some music. I will be back shortly. I appreciate your patience. All right, I'm back. That was a mercifully quick and amicable fix. That almost never happens with my job. Usually when my phone rings, it's bad news because someone needs all kinds of help on a weird, wacky, wild, and out there issue, and I have no idea how long it's gonna take. But that was an easy one. There was just a typo, and I needed confirmation, and they were super happy that I caught it for them. And okay, good. I love it when things go well. I don't remember what I was talking about beforehand. Oh yeah, we were talking about the frustrations of PC updates, and they're just like, I was talking about work and how I need to be there to respond to things as they pop up, and then something popped up that I need to respond to. It was like the most perfect. Like that could have almost been scripted. Like how perfect that was. That was amazing. At any rate, yeah. Well, I think the point I was just gonna make is like my computer, because I need my computer to be quickly accessible for those things to respond to. It always seems to happen that I'm like, all right, great. I get a call and it's like, okay, let's do this. And then my computer, because it's a work one and they don't trust us to remember to do things on our own, it'll force updates. And so I'll be like, oh yeah, let's take care of that for you. And then like I'll go to my computer and sit down, and it's like at like 3% of an update, looking at a half hour until it's done. And it's like, it'd be really nice if we could at least schedule these for after hours,
rather than right in the middle of the day. I'm not in charge, so I don't get to make those decisions. At any rate, all of that said, what the hell are we working on? Oh yeah, okay. So I'm a little hesitant to say icons, since that's like what our players are gonna like need the next time they come in here is like a holy icon. But I'm actually gonna do it because this is room 2, right? Which is right here. This room is going to be one of the rooms that is gonna sort of like get damaged for the second visit, right? Because we're gonna have this whole kind of wall get knocked out. And what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is, because we have a bunch of like living sentient plants that kind of invade the church overnight while they're there, we'll just have this room be completely overrun by plants, which I actually really like that idea, because then the players see that and they're like, oh yeah, there's just a bunch of like holy icons and stuff like that. You know, it's like, then like if they get that clue, they'll be like, oh yeah, we can go back to that one room. We know exactly where they are. All right, at least this will be a quick errand. And they go back there and that room is like just completely overrun and inaccessible by large plant-like creatures and stuff. So I think that's actually perfect. I really like that. I really, really, really like that. I love it. Excellent. Hell yeah. All right. So yeah. But as far as the lore going for this one, what I was thinking is you can with a collection of different icons, each labeled to represent a specific trait or function of the church. However, as you look, there seems to be one missing. Based on the labels, an icon representing redemption is missing. And then what I'm going to do here is I think I'm going to do DC 14. Yeah, we'll do another DC 14 to remember that you saw an icon that matches the styling of the others here. We'll say hanging in Sis's home, right? So it's like, so they can kind of get the clue. So we'll give them the clue. Like, it's gonna be tough for them to like recognize this, but we'll kind of give them the clue that like he was looking for redemption about something, right? So that could be like a little bit of a clue or a hint about what's going on there. So I think that'll work. I think that's good. I think that's really good. Perfect. I like it. Maybe a little too subtle, but you know, we'll put other more obvious ones in there. But like, I like putting some of those subtle ones in there just because like sometimes you get those players that are clever and they like to try and think about those types of things, you know. So it can be a really good way to sort of reward them for you know, or like give them something to puzzle out, give them something to think about and logic out, and they can kind of like it kind of like gives them the chance to speculate on what happens next time, you know, for their own game, right? Because people like to, when they're watching a show, speculate about, oh, what happens in the next episode, in the next installment. Now we can kind of give them that, but with, you know, their own game. So I don't know. I'm over analyzing it, but it's, I don't know. Point is, it's fun and I like it. All right. So yeah, now we got the boss battle. Boss battle. Oops, wait, no, we still need that underlined. And the boss battle is worth 250,000. I almost want to just put 2 of these giant lizards there. I think that'd be really fun. Usually I only try to do 1 of the bosses, but I think actually it'd be kind of fun. We can do 2 of those as well as a handful of the Jakuli around. Right, like just like, and we can put the Jakuli, the Jakuli, we can almost put them just like hidden in the room, that so like if players are trying to find and move about the room, they might accidentally stumble upon one, and that's when they start getting attacked by that thing. Oh, I like that idea actually. I'm gonna do that. So we'll do 2 of these. So that's 2,200. We need 25. So we'll do 3 of the Jakuli hanging around for our 2,500 XP. There we go. So I want to do 2 giant subterranean lizards. I don't know that I'll bother using them as subterranean, but that's fine. Just for the stats and the battle ability. And then, yeah, since they're just like skinned as a giant, exactly, they're skinned as the giant lizard, so I probably won't use them as subterranean, but that's fine. Fine, and then we'll do 3 Jakuli. Yeah, I like Jakuli much better than Jalami. Get it? Get it? Like cool and lame. Funny. What was that rant I was going on about, like being arrogant for the sake of humor? Yeah. Anyway. Anyways, I just did that thing. You ever do that thing where your tongue accidentally shoots out a spray of spit and it's really gross? Yeah, I just did that. And it's gross. And now you all get to enjoy the grossness with me. So, haha. Really being an adversarial little punk here on stream today, aren't I? Oh boy. Yeah, okay, so boss battle. You walk into the main worship worshipping, yeah. Walk into the main worshiping hall. Well, we'll just say worship hall. That's actually like the title that they use for it. Worship hall of this temple. Remnants of fuse lay strewn about. As best as you can see, there aren't any that have survived thus far. Not survived thus far. That have survived in this room. Lying among the rubble, you can see 2 massive lizards that are eyeing you quite hungrily. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boo, bo-bo. That's perfect. And so now what I'm gonna also do is I will give them the opportunity. Actually, no. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put it up front, and this can be a good way to kind of pull a fast one on our players a bit. DC 14 to notice the Jakuli scattered around, unless someone gets it, play it off like they're rolling to see the giant lizards among all the busted benches. There we go. So we can kind of like try and pull a fast one on them so that they don't know. Because like, if I explain that and then have them roll it and then don't explain anything else, then they're going to know that something is up, right? If they fail their checks to notice those things, they're going to know something is up with that room. But if we make it so that they roll beforehand, and no matter what, like we were going to explain the existence of the giant lizards anyway, but if we play it off and be like, okay, yeah, you notice, like, you know, you can kind of almost pointedly, like, because like if 1 or 2 people, like you can like look at whoever rolls the highest, assuming they don't roll the 14, and you can kind of look at that person, and you can be like, okay, you notice, even though you're using the royal you and referring to everyone, if you pointedly look at the person who got the highest and just say, yeah, you notice that, you know, this is lying around, right? You say that, and that will kind of trick them into thinking that was the thing to find, right? And then you can still catch them off guard with the surprise creatures there. So yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. And I'm going to just right here, I'm going to do in parentheses, actually what we'll do, in parentheses, let them be hidden and stay in place until any player comes within we'll say 10 feet of them at
which point they'll enter combat and attack. So they'll just like sit there trying to like lay low, camouflaged, but then if players get too close to them, then they'll attack and like try to defend themselves, you know. So we'll do it that way. I think that's good. I think it's really good, actually. I like that a lot. All right, and then oops. Wrong font color. That needs to be black. All right, what? Oops. Oh my gosh, everything is just like going straight to shit. Okay, black to make sure that the bullet point is black. Underline. Quest item. There we go. Took me an entirely unnecessary amount of times to get there, but I got there. That's the important part. Doesn't matter how winding the journey is, as long as you keep going and you get there. It's fine. Okay, quest item. As though anyone would argue that it isn't fine that it took me a couple tries to type something right. Maybe if I were like a copy editor or something like that, it'd be kind of pissed at me for taking so long, but for real, if I was doing that, then they'd probably have fired me a long time ago because I just would not be able to stay like attentive and focused on that. All right, anyway. Quest item. We'll say up, say at the far end of this room, you see a large basin of water among the rest of the altar. As you approach, you can see that it is still miraculously full. Actually, yeah, just full. Water inside is pristine, almost giving off its own glow or shimmer. Seems the holy blessings of this water remain intact and ready for boom. There we go. Just give them the holy water. They finish the boss battle, they can get it. They can get that holy water. There it is for them. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Okay, room 4. Hard battle McCormick. I want this bulleted. That's what I want to do. Oops, I also want this underlined. Hard battle McCormick. Hard battles worth 1850. 1850. We can just go ahead and go with 3 of the giant snapping turtles and do the 1800. I think that's just fine. I think 50 shy isn't gonna really dramatically change the difficulty of the fight. We'll just make that a nice even 1800, and then we'll just make sure we have like 1 or 2 fights that have a few 50 XP extra to make sure it balances out and we don't accidentally shortchange our players when they're trying to get a level up. So yeah, hard battle, and it's just gonna be 3 of these guys. Giant snapping turtles skinned as Gila monsters, which used to be like my favorite reptile. When I was a kid, I thought those things were so cool. I love the color pattern, the yellow and black. I thought it was so cool. I did like a 4th grade or 4th or a 5th grade research project on it. I remember doing that. I remember being so excited because I got to choose any animal I wanted. And I wanted to do the Gila monster, or Gila monster, I guess. I've never really actually been clear on which one's the quote-unquote proper. I hear both of them. At any rate, little kid me was so excited about it, and I worked so hard on it. Like, I remember that, too. Like, my teacher even gave me a pass, because, like, that happened right, like, I got the flu. I remember getting the flu and being really disappointed, because I wanted to be at school working on that thing. Because I was like, that was when I was real little, and that was enough years ago that kids having their own computers was not a thing. Like, we didn't even have mobile computer cards. That was back in the day. That was back in the day when our school computers, like, we had one computer lab that could be rented out one at a time, right? And so it's like we were going to have a couple computer lab days so we could all do our research projects, right? And I was sick that week. right? So I couldn't go in and use like the fun. That was when we had like those really colorful Macs. You know, if you remember those, like the most common colors were that weird green and that like teal green, that aqua green-ish color. And then they had the orange ones were really popular too, or at least those were the colors that were at my schools. Because like the middle school had orange and the elementary school had like the green ones or something like that, right? But I was like so excited to do that, and then I got sick and I had to be home or something. It's like I had the flu or strep throat or something, and I couldn't go in, and I was so disappointed. And my teacher was even going to let me not have to do the project just because I wouldn't be able to. But then my ma talked to her boss, and her boss let me use her work computer to make to do my research project and like make my PowerPoint. And I was like so excited because I still got to do it. Like I was such a nerd. As a kid. I was excited to do a school project, right? Like I was super stoked about it. And like we're talking, like I'm telling you, this was elementary school. This was like 4th grade, which is like what, like that's like 9 years old or something like that as a kid. Maybe not even, maybe more like 8 years old. Yeah, I was like so stoked to do it because I loved Gila monsters. I thought they were so cool. I still think they're cool. I still think they're rad animals. They're radimals, if you will. Radimal. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. I'm really tangent heavy today. I apologize. They're so cool. 3 of those bad boys. Yeah. So cool. So cool. I also couldn't tell you what I learned about them. They have, they're one of them types of lizards that aren't actually venomous, but like their mouths are so disgusting that they might as well be. Like bite something and get poisoned, kind of like the Komodo dragons. Yeah. God, reptiles are cool. Reptiles aren't even my favorite animals, but they are so cool. Reptiles are rad. Yeah, they're radimals, right? They're radimals. Yeah. Hang 10. Tubular. Anyway. Room 4. This is in the staircase area. As you enter this tower, you see that it has a staircase to bring you up to the second story of this temple. As the tower, actually, we'll say long, thick ropes. Sorry. Oh man, I'm a child. Long, thick ropes hang in the center of this room from the ceiling, where the old church bells hang, waiting for the next time they will get to ring. However, you're not alone in this room. Lying on the floor, in a large heap, are 3 massive reptiles with splotchy black and gold patternings. Patterning, yeah, there we go. As you enter, they collectively turn their heads and stare at you. After a short moment, one of them starts moving towards you, and you don't get the feeling that it wants belly rubs like the stray dog. Nah, I'm not gonna take it that far. We're just gonna say it doesn't. Don't get the feeling that it wants belly rubs. We'll just leave it right there. The implication. We don't need to get this too alliterative, or no, it's not alliteration. Too. Oh, I guess no, it's not really analogy.
It's just I guess just poetic flowery language. I don't know. I should stop trying to act like I'm some sort of fancy English major who understands all these terms and words and what they mean. I barely know how to structure a sentence together some days. Oy. Okay, so we need to find some money in here. We need to figure out a reason why there's money in this room. Oh, I have an idea why there's money in here. Do I have an idea? No, I guess I don't have an idea. Why is there money in this room? So I already used the tithings box idea. My thought is that there'd be money that would be among various like among a bunch of corpses in a corner, like as if, you know, like the animal, the Gila monsters have been like eating things and like pooping them out in a corner like a hamster or something. But like the city was evacuated, there wouldn't be dead people around. So it's like, why is there money? Why is there money? Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Here's what we'll do. It's a little convenient, but hey, you know, it's fine. We'll say PC 14 to notice that one of the walls is to have a bunch of bricks. Let's more stones. A bunch of stones that seem to be collectively loose. And so it's like, we're just gonna say that like they hide some of their stuff, so that way if any like any thieves try to break in, maybe they won't completely clean out the church, right? As you peer around this room, you notice that a chunk of the stoneworked, it's not really stoneworked, chunk of the stone wall, chunk of one of the stone walls has an outline where the mortar to hold the stones in place has been chipped away. As you remove this chunk of wall, you find yourselves staring into a hidden compartment. It seems the church or the temple caretakers were using this as a safe of sorts to keep the church funds safe from potential there it is, potential burglars burglars. There it is. I got there. My brain's mush. I'm getting there. It just takes me a few extra tries sometimes. It's okay. The only thing to ever be embarrassed about in life is giving up, right? And then let it not be said that I gave up trying to spell the word burglars. It's pitiful that one might need to worry about whether or not they're going to give up trying to spell the word burglars, but we face the challenges that come to us, even if they are of our own silly brains design. So burglars looking for a quick score among the collection bins in the building. Boom, there we go. And then we'll just go ahead and, again, we're just going to do all coins for this one. Throwing a bit of an audible on that one. Roll our loot again, same thing. Yeah, see, it's the same thing where they've got like the magic items and the art. So we'll just add the 125 to it. So that's 340. So we can assume 350 or yeah, 350 plus
25, 375 minus 3, 372. 372 gold. We got there. Yeah, at least I got that part of my brain working. 372 GP. There we go. Simple as that. Don't need to do anything else. Room 5 is the safe room. Great. Bullet point. Let me just make sure if I'm remembering the layout of this right. Yep, that's our safe room. All right. You enter this room and oops. My bad. Hold on. Safe. There it is. That's what we needed to do. You walk into this room and find a very dusty looking prayer chamber based on the number of soft cushions and chairs scattered around. It seems perhaps that this was once a prayer room, a prayer slash cry room where parents could take fussy children in order to not disturb other parishioners. Yeah, there you go. Great. That's all we need. And then a rune here. Get to put a rune. A rune. I don't think about why there would be a rune in here and what the nature of it would be. My thought is almost to have the rune be like part of an ornament on the wall, and it's almost like the church didn't recognize it was a rune or something like that, or the rune was just sitting there. Maybe the rune. Hold on, let me see something. Let's go ahead and explore our spells a little bit here. Game rules, spells. I think I want this to be like a level 2 spell. Up to level 2. We'll do cantrip first. Second, go through the spells. Not that I'm necessarily going to make it. Elements, aid. Other self, animal friendship, animal messenger, and lack. So, I mean, it's going to be something holy, obviously. I mean, aid seems like it could be a good one there. Bane, Mark's gonna be spawn, be sense, Blade War, bless. Oh, it's gotta be bless, right? I mean, come on, man, it's gotta be bless. It's gotta be bless. It had to be bless. It had to be bless. I don't know the rest of that song, so we're just gonna stop there rather than me embarrassing myself. Let's do DC 12 to recognize that there is a rune as part of the wall mounted decoration in this room. And then what I'm also going to do is actually, yeah, hold on. We're going to put a little bit of exposition there, and then we'll do the next part. I'm going to have it be a tiered discovery again. As you take a closer look around you, you notice something strange about the wall monument that hangs in this prayer room. Placed in the center of this wall decoration is a large stone. However, doesn't seem to just be any stone. It seems... Actually, you know what? Large stone, and then what I'm going to do... No, yeah. Hold on. Undo. Oh, no, I guess read. Let me undo the things that I backed up. Okay. Large stone. Based on the engravings and general aura around this stone, you can tell that it is a rune. Boom. And then I'm going to do, and then we're going to do a DM note, DC 14 to recognize that the rune is less. And then we'll say, though your initial thoughts were that this was a strange place for a rune, as you key into what spell, we'll just say what magic is contained in it, you start to understand. Okay, sorry, I need to be silent. My AC just kicked on. And like I know the heater is quiet enough, but I needed to make sure the AC was still quiet enough for this mic, and it appears to be. Hold on. Okay, at the very least it doesn't offer background. It doesn't like take over the mic on its own. It may make there be a little bit of like whooshing, crackling, or just like white noise in the back of my voice when I'm talking, but at the very least it doesn't just like kind of create one of them feedback loops that just sucks. Yeah. You start to, magic is contained, you start to understand why it may be here. It seems this rune contains, bless in it. Though you know that the rune itself will not hold power until imbued with an item, you suspect that it was a reassuring there's a reassuring sight to those here to worship. Possibly, well, yeah, we'll say possibly spreading good luck to those spending time in here. Okay, fine. Spreading. So yeah, so it's like it doesn't actually functionally do anything, but you can see where there'd be like a bit of a placebo effect going on there. Strange things happen when people believe that something should happen. You know what I mean? It's kind of how it goes sometimes. But great, perfect. All right, okay, all right. I'm looking at the time, and it's about time for me to call it a day. But we got two runes made up, and we filled out 5 rooms. Get runes and rooms. That's gonna be fun to enunciate. Room with runes. It's the rune room. Anyway, I think we made some good progress today. Not the fastest progress I've ever made, but good progress. I'm content with it. And I think this is definitely a good place to call it. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch this over here so I can do my sign off real quick. Thank you a million times over, as always, to everyone who stopped by. Lots of great ideas and conversation today. I love it, man. I love all the crazy, wacky ideas that y'all come up with. It's great stuff. So thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. It really makes my day bright. Really gives me something fun to look forward to every day. I love being here, and I appreciate you guys making it a fun place for me to be. Let's see. Today's Thursday, so I should be back streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow being Friday, which logically comes after Thursday. Kind of redundant to say that. But I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to continue some gaming, right? Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. That's when I stream like normally. That's my normal scheduled streaming times, with Mondays and Thursdays being our writing days, which means that Tuesday and Friday, tomorrow, are going to be our gaming days. We're going to continue our playthrough of Halo Infinite, doing the campaign for that one now. I'm excited about that. I'm excited. I'm having fun with it. And so I'm excited for all y'all to join me for that one as well. I may also, if time allows, depending on what else is going on in my life, I may also stream in the evenings tonight and tomorrow night, or maybe even through the weekend. Zero promises on that, but it's always kind of in the back of my mind that if I got time, I like doing that in the evenings. So, and that's when I like to sit down and keep working the slow burn on my Elden Ring playthrough. So if any of that is of interest to you, feel free to stop by. And if in general you want to stay connected and know when I'm going live and all that kind of stuff, there are a few ways you can stay connected and linked up with me. There's my Discord server where I put all kinds of announcements and stuff, as well as do my best to interact with people. If people like to share homebrew ideas and stuff like that, talking about D&D stuff, talking about video games, whatever, man. Discord's a great way to stay connected. You can find the link in my channel. Get yourself connected up with that, and we'll get you verified, and we'll have fun with you there. You can also, if you're just interested in getting little blips about when I go live, but you don't like necessarily having the Twitch alerts and stuff coming up or coming on and bothering you, you can follow me on Twitter as well. Enviro Streams on Twitter. I always put little blurbs about when I'm going live, and occasionally I'll put other goofy thoughts that come to mind up there. So, if that's your jam, you can follow me there. Otherwise, you can stay connected with me. I have an Instagram, EnviroBoy Streams. Like I talked about, I do kickboxing, I do rock climbing, I got a cat, all kinds of fun stuff. I like to put pictures and videos of other fun things I get up to but aren't really stream related on there. So if you're just kind of curious, if you ever hear me mention something and you want to learn more about some of the other stuff I get up to, you can follow me there. It's fun times there as well. And then, of course, I also have my YouTube channel, EnviroBoy. If it's hard for you to watch live and you still want to see what I get up to and you like my streams, you think that my beautiful voice is excellent for background noise, it's calming while you're working on other things. I don't know why I turned into a bad knockoff of Morgan Freeman right there. But if you want to see other stuff and it's hard to catch the streams live, or you don't want to wait until the next time I stream, you can always go to my YouTube channel. I put all my VODs up there. They're just there. That's for your viewing enjoyment. So, go ahead and enjoy that at your pleasure. And I think that's all I got. That's all my announcements. I talked about when I'm going live and everything. And yeah, that's it. So again, a million times over, thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. I always appreciate you guys. Looking forward to seeing you maybe tonight, definitely tomorrow. Either way, I'll see you soon. So take care of yourselves, you goofballs. And yeah, I will, as always, catch you cats on the flip side. And that's the end of it, because I can't just finish on a positive note. I gotta just trail off awkwardly as I'm saying goodbye. Okay, bye.